Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. We're a little bit late today, but it's just still great to be back on with the holidays approaching. Merry Christmas to you all. Unless you don't celebrate Christmas, then I've totally missed other holidays. I, of course, am also, there it is. I, of course, am your host for today, Mr. Mark Williams. I don't know why my voice is going all of a sudden. Maybe I'm finally hitting puberty. But in the top right box today, we have Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Cheers. I got to tell you, I think I've heard Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You about 30 times in the last 2 days.
Anthony, they play that at my bar nightly, so I can't always empathize with that. And unfortunately, the established order was upset where Mr. John Falkowski is third.
It doesn't matter. But speaking about that whole All I Want for Christmas song, there's literally a meme of Bret Hart and Macho Man Randy Savage wrestling in Japan for a WWF show years ago. And it's Macho Man coming off the top rope to hit Bret Hart with a double axe handle from the top rope onto the outside. And it's me is Bret Hart and Macho Man is Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas. And it's the most accurate meme I've ever seen.
I mean, oh God, I hear it all the damn time. And I'll be honest, I've kind of just become desensitized to it. However, I do have to say that my favorite Christmas song is probably Shillelagh Law Christmas in New York right now. So I'm also going to figure out what the hell's going on with this frog in my throat all of a sudden. But we have a lot of news to dispense. It's probably not even news anymore. It's probably closer to olds. But this week, the NHL paused the season a little bit early. They usually do it every single year for the Christmas break. They canceled or suspended or postponed 33 games that they're rescheduling. They withdrew for the Olympics. Players and coaches around the league have responded, starting with Connor Hellebuyck, who caused all of this to be overkill. Steve Yzerman, who said, at the end of our day, our players are testing positive without symptoms and very little threat to their health. Why are we testing guys with no symptoms? And he also continued to say, players have never come to us to shut it down. They want to play, and they'll do what they have to do to get through this. League is considering easing some protocols, which we talked about last week from Anthony's anonymous source. So, Anthony, I'm going to start with you on this. Where does this shutdown leave the NHL after Christmas?
Well, first off, without getting political, because we don't want to do that, this whole thing is just ridiculous now. There's literally one player in the entire National Hockey League, Tyler Bertuzzi, that is unvaccinated. 98% of these guys are asymptomatic. Why are we even testing players who feel totally healthy? Like, why? It doesn't make any sense. And Adam Silver, the NBA's commissioner, I don't know if you guys saw the tweet. I think I sent it in our group chat. I think it was yesterday. I guess when he was asked about pausing, he said that, listen, COVID's not being eradicated. We have to learn to just live with it. And he's right. It makes no sense to be postponing these games and players put in COVID protocol. They were totally healthy. It's just enough. Enough is enough. And that tweet I sent you guys earlier today about the NBA players are facing the same thing, and they have a full slate of games. Like, just stop. Enough is enough. And I loved Steve Yzerman's comments. It was great to see an executive like him, speak out and kind of say what everyone's thinking, which is what I just laid out, is that these players are vaccinated. There's no harm, in my opinion, even if they're positive but healthy, not letting them play. Listen, if this was March 2020, when we didn't really know much about it and whatnot, yes, if they were positive, even if they were healthy, I could see, not letting them play. But being that this league is 99% vaccinated, to me, it just doesn't make any sense to A, test players who are healthy, and B, even if they are positive, hold them out. I think yes, if you're sick, then yeah, be put in COVID protocol. But other than that, enough is enough. And Steve Yzerman and Connor Hellebuyck, good for you for speaking out. Hopefully when the pause is over, they change their protocols and we move on with our lives here because it's getting ridiculous.
And Phil, there was one more tweet that I wanted to put up about this one where it's saying management and everyone's all getting fed up, calling it a charade. I mean, it's what are your thoughts on this?
It's probably the case. I mean, these guys want to play. They want to get paid. They want to play. They want to do what they enjoy doing. And it's getting tiring. The narrative continues to change left and right. Supposedly, this new variant isn't as deadly as the original. Everybody's vaccinated except for Bertuzzi. And Bertuzzi, he can't go to Canada. So that's his choice. But, I mean, this comment right here from David, I mean, he doesn't understand why the NHL is having such a problem. The NFL seems to have a fraction of the cases and quarantines. I mean, these are all good questions to be asking. It just, after a while, when does it end? When does it end? When does the madness stop? I don't know. If they want to play and they're healthy and they're asymptomatic, I mean, you know what? Let the players do what the players want to do at this point. Because if you're not going back into total lockdown, then what's the point of all this madness then?
Yeah, I got to say that there are so many other problems that right now are starting to bubble up because of this. Because now you have, with them withdrawing for the Olympics, you have 3 weeks of games that you just emptiness you have to fill now. So
they'll be the postponed games will be made up in that time.
Yeah, but there's not 3 weeks worth of games.
But there's maybe like a week and a half or more.
Well, first off, if they could undo the Ranger Islander game on St. Patrick's Day, that would be nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were also, and they're talking about making games, taking them and moving them up depending on building availability. Like this is going to be an absolute I won't cluster F. I'll say that. I wanted to say the actual word, but it's without talking about the actual politics of the situation. It's you got players that they're healthy and the flu's gone around NHL locker rooms. If you want to say it's not the flu, fine. It's not the flu, but it seems to me this is a little bit of virtue signaling, and the league. This might be a tipping point for them to say, look, we're just going to go through games. This is just what happens. Well, and there's never going to be a COVID zero. So,
that's exactly it. And that's why Adam Silver was bang on. They have to, they have to readjust the protocols. They really do. Cause, players are still going to test positive. And if they're healthy, let them play. I mean, like I said, not to keep repeating ourselves, but literally the whole league minus one player is vaccinated. Everyone's vaccinated. And these are the top athletes in the world. And if they are experiencing symptoms, they're like having like the sniffles or a cold. It's just ridiculous. But listen, I think the league will probably, revisit some of the protocols after seeing what the NBA and NFL is transitioning to. For them to be the only ones, doing something different makes no sense. And typically these leagues are like copycats. If one does one thing, usually the others follow. Yeah. Maybe the only wrinkle to this is the NHL has a lot more Canadian teams, obviously, than the NBA, and the NFL has none. So maybe that plays a role in it with the, cross-border traveling. But even still, I mean, it's just absurd.
Well, you're going to have a lot of that. You're going to have the provinces in Canada and the Canadian government, as well as certain states in down here, that they're just going to be like, nah, you're going to need to keep those strong protocols. Madison Square Garden is requiring 5-year-olds to show proof of vaccination. More on that later, by the way. There's a bit of just madness with this, and I'm not a doctor. I know this because there isn't a plaque on my wall that says I'm a doctor, but although I'm Dr. Love, ladies, but it's just I don't think this is madness. I'm just gonna go back down to Phil before I say something dumber.
Well, did you first? I just wanted to AZ wrote this comment. CA, I don't know if you saw and this wasn't satire or joke. Apparently in Ontario, they're changing the rules now where at these events you can't eat food, you can't buy any drinks, and you can only stand up when a goal is scored to cheer. Like because they want to eliminate food and beverage because that gives people a reason to take off their mask. So by doing that, they say people are going to remain wearing masks the whole time, and that is the most absurd and ridiculous stipulation that I have seen in a long time. I mean, I know. Again, not getting too much into politics. I know, like people have their thoughts on our president and the administration and whatnot. But Canada, man, like doing stuff like that. Like, are you kidding me? Like the Canadians playing in front of no fans the other day and going to 50% capacity. Like, what are you doing? Like, just stop. It's just tiring. It's just
it's the Arizona Coyotes. They don't have to worry about standing. Phil?
At what point do they just shut down sports then? Because I get that the NHL is never going to go for that because it's a business and they can't endure that again. I mean, you've seen the financial implications from what's happened to this league from the previous shutdown in 2020. But it's overkill. It's overkill. This isn't going anywhere. We're going to have to learn how to live with it, just like everybody did with influenza all those years ago. Excuse me. So we're going to have to learn how to live and get back to a normal life. It just I've seen even as a pro wrestling fan, I watch a lot of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and over there you can't cheer. They wear masks in their seats, and you can't even cheer. You have to stomp and clap. So I mean, it works, and their crowds still get very loud that way. But it's I don't know. I'm just over all this. I'm tired of it. It's just annoying. And if the narrative wasn't changing constantly, and this wasn't so politicized, I could understand it at that point. But this is all just it's annoying. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. I just want life to go back to normal and want to be able to enjoy sports without all this madness and political nonsense involved with it.
So, and the economic repercussions of all this is starting to rear its head. We know about the Arizona Coyotes. I caught myself saying that twice already. Yeah. There might be problems going with the pandemic for the Calgary Flames too, and that new building that they were trying to get. We don't even know what's going to be happening.
The only aspect in this that I kind of agree on, and I think Frank Ciaravelli said, other than the pandemic itself, one of the reasons why games are being postponed is for the competitive balance. People pay a lot of money to see top players, and with so many of these players on COVID protocol, I guess they feel it's not fair to have so many teams having AHL call-ups, and that's why I get so frustrated. So it's okay now, but it was okay when the Islanders are playing Andy Andreoff and Grant Hutton and all these guys. That was okay. But now
I totally get you being pissed there. The only thing I'll say in response to that is that unfortunately the Islanders and the Senators were like guinea pigs in all this. They were trying to work out the kinks and see how it would relate with them and how it would work. So unfortunately the Islanders and the Senators really got the crap end of the stick, and they got for it.
And so, but the other news that comes with this is that the NHL officially withdraws from the Olympics. Now, we've been advocating just don't go anymore. Yeah. No matter how much we wanted to see the best and the best of the world against each other. And it's something that it's disappointing, but also, Phil, can you think of some positives with this now?
I'm of the ilk, or the mindset rather, that if you, I'd rather focus on the NHL team than the Olympics. They don't mean nearly as much to me as my team doing well and being on track. The positive in this is that you don't have to worry about a player going overseas, getting like a false positive test or 2 false positive tests, and being over in China for 3 to 5 weeks because he can't come home. Because, I mean, that would be ridiculous. So I don't blame them for not wanting to go at that point. And the cool thing is that while the Olympics are going on, you can watch the Olympics and you can watch NHL Mika. So there's even more hockey to watch now. So if we're going to look at it glass half full, that's my glass half full right there.
Anthony, go.
I have said that prior that they shouldn't be going to the Olympics based on everything going on, and really mostly just because of the quarantine rules, if they could track COVID when they're there. But needless to say, I'm still disappointed that at the end of the day, we're not going to be watching NHL players play for their home countries. It just takes away from it for a little bit. Like, I'll still watch, but I think competitive balance is uneven now because, as you guys know, Russia can use Russian KHL players, which is ridiculous because that's a pro league, probably the second best league in the world, but yet they're going to be able to add really anybody they want to the roster, where USA is going to have collegiate players. And like I made reference last Olympics, Brian Gianta played. He was a free agent, so I guess Bobby Ryan could play for Team USA. But I mean, Canada, all those countries, they're not going to be able to compete with the talent that Russia's going to be able to play with their top KHL players playing for them. So in my opinion, I mean, yeah, anything can happen, but I think this just basically hands Russia the gold medal for the second consecutive Olympics. So I think in the event that, I mean, I know it shouldn't matter because Donald Fear said in 2026 the NHL players will be back in the Olympics, but in the event that in future Olympics for whatever reason they don't use NHL players, they should revisit that where Russia can't use professional KHL players, because it, like I said, it affects the competitive balance. But I get why they did it. Listen, the 3 to 5 week rule is ridiculous if they tested positive. But I guess I'm upset. But like I said, being everything that was going on, it didn't make sense for them to go. But I'll still watch, but it's just not going to be as fun.
I'll say this: the NHL, I think, lucked out on this one, because now they don't have to answer questions that the NBA has been answering for the last 2-3 years with their relationship over there and all the politics that's going on over there. The NHL doesn't have to answer those questions. Those have to be asked of them. Sure, you'd love to tap into that market, but now you don't have to think about it right now. Look, it's as far as the players go and their well-being and their health, their best thing was to be here. Like I said before last week, I want Chris Kreider nowhere near the Olympics right now. I would, and no one would want McDavid over there. No one would want, and Anthony would want Brock Nelson or Matt Barzal going, especially with your season hanging by a thread. And again, like you said beforehand, it's kind of unfair when you look back at it going, and we talked about it last week. Did the NHL mishandle the situation for the Islanders? Yes. Yeah. Yes, they did.
Yeah. Now,
is it the reason? It's a reason for 4 of their losses, not 11, but that's a different story. But again, that's just what we need to do. We need to get away from that and just pull out completely. It just makes more sense. But we're going to move on from that right now. Guys, what do you think about the NHL not going to the Olympics? And what do you think about their pause this week? And there was also the comment. I just want to throw this tweet in there. It was the one you put in the group chat, Ant. It was every single NHL game is canceled tonight because players got the sniffles. Meanwhile, the NBA has a full slate of games going on tonight while battling the same issues. Not good for Ryan Whitney's ongoing skit that the NHL is tougher than the NBA. To whoever that tweet was, I think it's Foley was the name on it. No, that's not the case. It started with the Canadian government saying they weren't going to allow cross-border traffic. There were plenty of people. No. NHL players are much tougher than NBA players. You guys rested players because they were old. So anyway, let's move on. Let's do some bar talk right now, and then we'll get to our Christmas theme.
I'm going to take a shot on this one.
I'm going to say beer.
I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh my God.
Welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you going to buy everybody around? You're so confident? You just so you want a beer? Or you just need a shot on this one because, it's depressing. So I'm going to start with this one and direct it down to the man who's in the lower square today, Mr. John Folkowski. The Rangers actually benefit from the early shutdown.
I'm buying everybody around on this because Gerard Gallant the other day actually said that if they were to play tonight, that both Panarin and Shesterkin would have been in the lineup. So this is an absolute blessing in disguise for them in a way. You're going to have Igor back and healthy. Artemi Panarin's going to be back and healthy as well. You want both of your guys back, and especially against a team like Montreal, they could have used the both of them. I mean, their next game is against Detroit on Monday. Detroit is not a pushover, as the Islanders know. So the Rangers better go into that game with their heads, up straight, on straight, and really come out flying against that team. They have no excuse at this point. I don't want to hear about rust. They had so many games in a small schedule span and in a certain amount of days. What was it, 6 games in like 9 days or something like that? Something ridiculous, but they should be rested now, and they should come out flying against Detroit. So this is a round for me.
Anthony.
Round. I think for sure Phil outline gives Panarin some more time, gives Shesterkin some more time, just extra reps to get even healthier. And also the Rangers, haven't been playing their best hockey lately, so I think maybe it's a little bit of time to regroup there, try to find their game. But then at the same time, a lot of teams are going to probably say to themselves, this is coming at a good time and regroup. So I think it's an even playing field there with benefiting a bunch of teams. But I think for sure the Rangers benefit from this.
I'm going to go round 2. There is a caveat to what I think, and that they shut down the practice facilities. As soon as they said no cross-border travel, the Rangers could still practice. They're still a young team. Young teams need to practice. And Mika Zibanejad was starting to come alive. But you know what? It's still around because the health of Shesterkin and Panarin matters so much more than anything else. Panarin, who, by the way, is, I think, 5th in the NHL in scoring. I'm going to be talking about NHL scoring leaders more in a little bit. Going to the Islanders, Robin Lehner returned this week with the Vegas Golden Knights, and he decided to shave in honor of Lou Lamoriello his 1 year there. So, Anthony, Robin Lehner is the best short-term wonder in Islander history. You're muted, Ant.
I actually replaced this one in the rundown because I thought it was a little silly because, I mean, there haven't really been many Islanders over the years that's played 1 year and left. I changed it to Oliver Wahlstrom needs to play at Barzal when he.
Don't worry, I'm putting that in the rundown right now.
But I mean, as for this one, I mean, when I rack my brain to try to think of some of recent Islanders to only play 1 year and leave, I mean it's definitely Lehner. So round Lehner connected with the fan base. He made those comments that the Islander fans saved his life. I think it's because that it was the day of training camp that year. Arthur Staple put out the article where he sat down with Lehner, and that's when Lehner first opened up about his struggles with depression and all that. And I think connected with a lot of fans. I mean, a lot of hockey fans are blue collar people that live life like everyone else, kind of a million things going on. So a lot of people in this world have anxiety and depression. And I think that's why he connected with so many people to show that a professional athlete like him can be open about it. And the Islander fans connected with him, and they loved him. And he had a lot. It didn't hurt that he had a lot of success too on the team. So for sure, he made it. Lehner made a big impact on the Islanders and vice versa. Great person. Seemed like a great teammate. I still scratch my head why they opted to let him go. But
Me too.
I mean, yeah, this is a no brainer in terms of it being around.
Phil.
There really isn't much to say after Anthony's explanation. It's around. I mean, you don't really see many players and get really endeared to the Islanders fan base the way that Robin Lehner has in general, never mind ones that have been there for only a year. I think there are more players that the Islander fan base hates than there are the ones that have come and had that kind of impact in such a short amount of time. So this is definitely around.
Yeah, I think it was just an easy round for all of us, and I was trying to think of somebody else to compare him to. P.A. Parento was one of those guys that I could think of. That's why I changed it from 1 year wonder to short term wonders. Like Adrian Aucoin was fantastic for them for a few years and then disappeared. I'm trying to think of some other guys other than
Blake.
I mean, Mark Parrish. Jason Blake had 130-goal season.
40 goal.
40
goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You still had to get 30 to get to 40. Okay.
And mind you, Robin Lehner has a tattoo of Long Island on his neck. I mean,
that just pointed to it.
Yeah. That just goes to show how much he loved the island and the fans and what it meant to him.
And so quick question before I move on to your Wahlstrom thing. Anthony, how awkward was it that Andy Green got honored for 1,000 games, got an ovation? The bigger ovation was for the guy that only played one season with them, playing on the opposite team.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, don't get me wrong. Andy Green playing 1,000 games in this league. It's impressive. It just shows the longevity, health. But Andy Green, has only been an Islander for a short amount of time, and even though Lehner was too, obviously the story and everything made Lehner a much more of a fan favorite. But I mean, I don't think that's newsworthy at all. But congrats to Andy Green for reaching 1,000 games.
By the way, Phil, looking at Anthony's lighting, does it feel like he's going to break out into Phil Collins? I could hear it calling in the air tonight.
Yeah,
anyway.
You definitely botched the lyrics of that song.
All right.
Badly.
Okay, moving on. Oliver Wahlstrom should play with Matt Barzal when play resumes. Going back to you, Mr. Islander.
Buying everyone around here. After a little bit of a tough stretch, after a great start, Wahlstrom has been one of their best players lately. And Barry Trotz pointed to the fact that, when he was in his slump and maybe not doing things right away from the puck, which was limiting his ice time, he said one thing that he's doing now is he's passing the puck. Because Wahlstrom, we all know how well Wahlstrom shoots the puck. So he was saying how, Wahlstrom, when he's not going, he's just kind of shooting it every time he gets it and not really like making a heady play and, using his teammates to help him. For the last, week and a half, 2 weeks, he's been getting assists. There have been a couple of games where he's had multi-assist games. And that's just an asset of his game that makes him an even better player. Because, again, we all know how well he shoots the puck. But, for the longest time, even back when Tavares was an Islander, it was, Tavares needs a winger to play with. He needs a winger to play with. Barzal needs a winger to play with. And Oliver Wahlstrom has a fantastic shot. Barzal's a setup guy. The marriage just makes sense. So Barry needs to, quit playing around and limiting Wahlstrom's ice time, and because he produces despite not getting a lot of minutes. So play him with Barzal, and hopefully they can, really connect and make some magic, because, you'd think the writing's on the wall based on the two styles of games they both play. But I think every Islander fan should be happy that Wahlstrom is with this team, because I think he's going to be a really good player in this league, and he needs a good centerman in Barzal to play with.
I gotta go down to John because he was so animated just now. What were you thinking?
Because Anthony, literally, the thing he said about Tavares needing a winger was exactly what I was going to say. It's that they needed a winger a top flight level sniper, somebody who can come along and like score 30 goals with their top center for all these years. And now they're not even going to try to do that. So I don't even know anymore why Barry Trotz won't do this, but this is absolutely around. He's the best winger they have in terms of pure skill and talent. He's the very best. I don't care what anybody says about Beuvillier. I don't care about what anybody says about Anders Lee. Anders Lee has not looked the same since John Tavares left because John Tavares and Anders Lee, their styles meshed well together. I've said from the start, even Anthony, you know this, when we were at the station, I was telling you that Anders Lee was definitely not going to produce the same way with Matt Barzal that he did with John Tavares. And 3 years later, here we are. So put Oliver Wahlstrom with him. It's time to make the move. It's time for Barry Trotz to start giving Oliver Wahlstrom the same leash that he's given Josh Bailey and Kyle Palmieri and some others who haven't really been carrying their own weight. So, yeah.
We're wearing out this button so far today, but I'm buying everybody around on this one too. I've been calling for this for a while. They should have moved Wahlstrom up to start the year. I forgot. Anthony, who's the other wing on that line?
Lee and Bailey.
Okay. Well, but it wasn't Bailey originally. Because he's with the B line.
Well, yeah, but because Eberle left, so they switched things up.
Yeah, but originally it was, who are they playing on the first line?
They tried Palmieri for a brief time, but it's been Lee and Bailey for all of this year.
Yeah,
and there you go. If you put together the 3P line, as I called it this week, which was Parise, Pajot, and Palmieri, maybe that's a new line, and that could help out this team and resurrect them. And Oliver Wahlstrom, you know what? Turn the kid loose. This kid will just fire the puck from everywhere. Anders Lee has got his big ass in front of the goalie's eyes. Have at it. That kid can actually get 20 goals right now, if not 30. If you just go with that.
He's got the shot that would get him 30 goals. Easy 30 goals. And the skating's improved to the point where I don't see why he can't play with Matt Barzal, especially when the other winger is Anders Lee, who couldn't keep up with Matt Barzal if Matt Barzal had cement blocks attached to his skates.
I can tell you. I mean, I can tell you the reason, Phil. It's because Trotz, as we all know, is very big with being responsible defensively, and I guess he feels that Barzal is still spotty sometimes, and that Wahlstrom's a young player and has his deficiencies right now. So I guess he doesn't want two out of the three players at the top line having to worry about. But
I get it, but I'm gonna. By the way, everyone, I'm sorry, I'm not really vocal in the comment section today. My computer is lagging beyond belief, so I can't even type anything right now. Dominic, your comment about Barry Trotz and young players, the David Quinn of the Island, is probably the most accurate comment I've seen in regards to this whole Islander segment right now, or with this. So, because it's absolutely true. So, I agree with Anthony, but at the same point, if you're not going to give this kid a chance, when? If not now, when?
And before we move on, I just have a little bit of a hot take, but I was talking with Islander fans in a group that I'm in, and the last year before Trotz took over, the 17-18 Islanders, tire fire defensively. I mean, they let up a lot of goals, but they were one of the top scoring teams, in the league. I think they were in the top 10 in goals for, because Doug Waite played a wide open system. I'm not saying I want Trotz to do that, but I'm starting to believe that he's got to loosen the reins here with the system he plays, because, Barzal should be putting up more points than he does. I mentioned Palmieri, the guy scores 25 goals a year for 4 or 5 years, and now all of a sudden he doesn't score. Anthony Beuvillier has a lot of talent. Wahlstrom, Lee and Nelson.
Here's the thing.
I think he needs to maybe have them start playing a more offensive brand of hockey.
I've got one small short point I can add to what you're saying. Barry Trotz's system wins, but Barry Trotz's system isn't going to win with the Islanders unless he eases up a little bit, because he doesn't have the talent that he had in Washington to win with. So unless he decides that he pulls off the reins just a little bit and gives them some slack, Matt Barzal is going to remain a 65, maybe 70-point player when he should probably be a guy that scores 75 to 85 if he's got a decent winger with him.
Barry Trotz has been known to actually pull back the reins, though. He did that in Nashville, I believe, back in the Steve Sullivan era.
Not really. They were the same team back then. It's just that Steve Sullivan came in, and right off the bat, Steve Sullivan was about a point per game player when they acquired him at the 04 deadline from Chicago. So, I mean, really, Nashville's never been an offensive team, not since the Peter Forsberg deadline deal, that 06-07 season.
But that's what great coaches have to do. You got to pull it back a little bit. I would actually have used a comparison for John Tortorella and Chris Kreider for this as well, but that's another story. Philk, going on. The New Jersey Devils season is over. The Devils lost 6 in a row before the pause.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how the Devils make the playoffs. If anything, they should be worrying about draft positioning now, because if you added Shane Wright or someone like a Matt Savoy or a Brad Lambert to like that core of players, then New Jersey starts looking like a real monster going forward. I would do that. I don't know what they would need to how or why they'd be able to get back into the race. They would have to win 90% of their games probably to make the playoffs. They're just as bad of a position as the Islanders are, and the Islanders need to win, I would say, at least 85% of their games going forward. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the Devils can do anything. It's over. Just try to develop your players. Look for steps in the right directions with guys like Jack Hughes, Dawson Mercer. You want someone like Igor Sharangovich. You want to see more out of him. Yeah, Jesper Bratt is playing at almost a point per game. I mean, there are good signs, but I wouldn't worry about making the playoffs if I were them.
I'll jump in since we're waiting for Anthony to get back, and I'll say this. Yeah, it sucks. I predicted the Devils were going to be hanging in there, especially after their game against the Rangers a couple weeks ago, where I was like, wow, this team fights. This team is good. I mean, Lindy Ruff, one of the winningest coaches in NHL history, possibly one of the most overrated ones, I'm starting to think. But it's just, I look at this team and I think they should be better. I think they should be much better, but their defense just isn't that good.
No, but I mean, that's what happens when Ryan Graves is playing on your top pairing. Oh, wait, I might get DM'd by somebody for saying that.
All right. Well, and you look at that again, you look at the Devils, you look at their roster, and I mean, Sharangovich I had as one of my sleepers. So, oh, hey, I guess. Oh, sorry. Oh, Anthony, that's Anthony. Yeah. I'm like, Phil, you're putting it in. No problem.
No, my laptop is lagging so hard. Like I said, I can't even respond to you guys. I see all your comments. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are having a good holiday season. Yeah, I can't. My screen's lagging hard. The comments are coming in all laggy. I don't know what's going on right now.
I got to hand it to you, Anthony. You're always creative at getting interactions when you're not on screen.
All right. AZ, by the way, it's not Barkov. It was Nick Bobrov, who was the head European scout for the Rangers at the time that drafted Kravtsov. So,
and there's a little bit of questions you got to ask with that guy right now. So, even after the pause, the Boston Bruins condensed schedule will cost them a playoff. Now, again, I want to say it like this. If they keep the schedule, they're talking about moving around games. But the Bruins have like a bunch of back-to-back games, plus like very little off days after the post-Olympic break. But if the schedule remains similar to what this is. So I guess, Anthony, you start it.
Yeah, I don't know. Beer. I think they could still be powered by Marchand, Pastrnak, and Bergeron. But I'm not really in love with their team overall. I think they still lacked a little bit of depth. I mean, Foligno isn't really performing for Boston at all after signing him. Hall's really not playing all that great. And the goaltending, Olmark and Swayman. Swayman's been pretty good, but I honestly think like a team like the Red Wings could beat them out right now. I'm more impressed in Detroit than I am Boston right now from how much the sample size I've seen of both teams. But I don't think Boston has a playoff spot locked up at all.
Phil,
I'm looking at their schedule, and there are some tough games coming up for them. I mean, the rest of the year, they really don't have a stretch where they have a bunch of easy teams in a row until I would say the end of March, beginning of April, where they have like the Devils, the Blue Jackets back to back. I mean, and I can't even say the Blue Jackets are a quote unquote easy team. The Red Wings aren't an easy team. I mean, I'm with Anthony on this. I'm gonna say beer because I'm really not sure if they could make it or not, because you're right. That top line's one of the 3 best lines in the league, hands down. But where is their scoring depth after that? I mean, has Taylor Hall really been all that great for them? Charlie Coyle? Where is your scoring depth after that? Eric Holla? And their defense is really not all that good. I mean, Charlie McAvoy is good. Grzelcyk is, he's okay. Derek Forbort is supposed to be in your top 4. That's a yikes for me, dog. So I'm gonna say beer here, but I'm starting to lean towards shot when I look at their schedule.
You know what? There's only one reason why I'm going to say the word beer and not buying everybody around right now, and that's because I actually think that just like that, everybody, all my co-hosts are gone. I think the top line could possibly carry them into the playoffs. I just don't see it. And depending whether or not Tuukka Rask gets back and he's completely healthy and rejuvenated, that can help. But on the other hand, you look at that schedule. That schedule is nasty for an older team going down the stretch. And they've only played, I think they're tied in games with the Islanders right now. So more of their games are coming. It's coming in the next 3 months, and don't be surprised if they're not there. Now, again, if the NHL has to like move around the schedule for February and everything, that could change and alleviate them. But I know they got a back-to-back against the Rangers the last year. They got 5 back-to-backs that I checked. Back-to-back in the NHL do not work.
They've only played 26 games, so them and the Islanders have played the least amount of games in the league.
Yeah.
And you know what? And COVID went through them too. They've been ravaged. I mean, the Islanders played them without a bunch of key guys. So, I mean, Islanders might have been shafted a little bit in their run, but I mean, they caught Boston at the right time too. So, but I unless Boston makes a trade deadline move and a big one, like let's just say somehow they pull out a trade for like Tomas Hertl or something like that. I don't know where they get the scoring depth from to make that run and take that spot, even though I don't see Detroit necessarily beating them out.
Are you starting to think they're the 2016 New York Rangers?
They feel like it, except they have a real good top line. Their goaltending, I'm not sold on their goaltending. Like 2016 with the Rangers, you knew the goaltending was solid. You knew the defense was decent, but where is the depth?
See, but by the way, you know what the funny thing is? I use them as the example of a team that they're just trying to keep it still going and the window's closed. 2017, they had a real good team, but I guess maybe 2018 is the better example. The window closed, but the Rangers bottomed out. They were not a very good team at that point.
Have you guys noticed the many comments with the Russian names with the little?
Yeah, I think they're bots.
It's spam bots. Normally I would be blocking them, but like I said, I'm lagged out. I can't.
And I'm gonna get on that as soon as I get through.
Okay.
Hey guys, do you know who's 4th in the NHL in scoring?
Nope.
Nazem Kadri, 11 goals, 27 assists, 38 points. So this is the next question. Nazem Kadri is quietly putting together a great season.
This is another easy round. I mean, he's also up there because Nathan McKinnon was out for a while. So he's still a really good player. You got to remember in the 2013 lockout shortened season, he was about a point per game that year as well for Toronto. And Toronto really was being carried by him, James Van Riemsdyk, and Phil Kessel that year back then. So
thank you, Shannon.
Thank you very much, Shannon.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Wow. Thank you very much, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
You, Shannon at Croker's. You definitely got a round on me at the least.
And by the way, Shannon is actually moving to Miami in the next within the next year for a job, but she will still be watching us and she will still be rooting for her Islanders.
Wow, good for you. Get away from this crappy weather.
Yeah.
But yeah,
John, finish that.
It's obviously a round for Kadri, but yeah, I would wonder what his numbers would look like if he didn't play on their top line for as long as he did.
All right, I was taking care of a bot, but Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's a round. There's no doubt about it that he's having a great season. When you're fourth in the league in scoring, you're doing something right, and that's quite impressive because if you ask someone like who if without looking at numbers or stats, like who do you think would be in the top five? I don't think his name would ever come up. No. But he's great in his own end too. He plays the game on that fine line. He plays hard, but he's capitalizing on opportunity with more ice time. But yeah, I think he's absolutely is. And what else I could say is also maybe even more so quietly having a great season. Stamkos. I mean, Stamkos is sixth in the league in scoring. And he's kind of gets overlooked now. He's getting a little older. When you think of top players in the league, he doesn't necessarily come to mind right off the bat. But he's having like a resurgent season for Tampa Bay. And luckily for them, because Kucherov has been out, so they're able for him to step up and give top tier production is really good. So I would say he might even be more of a candidate than Kadri, but there's no doubt that Kadri's having a great year.
I'm going to buy everybody around on this because I posed this question and I was shocked when I saw it was Nazem Kadri, because you think McKinnon, even though he's been out, you think Rantanen, who's having a good season. You think about all the guys, and Nazem Kadri, I don't think he's has he ever led a team in scoring that he's been on? I'm not even sure.
The 2013 Maple Leafs probably.
Okay, but I mean, I was shocked about this. So first, let me give credit to the great season he's putting together. His season is going to end with a suspension. We all know this. It's going to happen. And Nazem, if you ever get a video of this or anything, please don't end your season with a suspension.
No, he didn't lead the 2013 Maple Leafs in scoring. Phil Kessel did.
Okay. I mean, because I know we played with Kessel and Van Riemsdyk. But again, his last season, he ended it suspended. The year before, he ended it suspended. He ended his career as a Maple Leaf suspended. Stop getting playoff suspensions. So, moving on. Teams should be lining up to hire Paul Maurice after he resigned as Jets coach. And if you need to see his coaching record, there it is. One trip to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Barefoot? Yeah.
And he's sixth all time in wins. So, you know what? I'm going to start everybody. And hold on. We might get another text from Anthony, but at least we'll still be able to see him on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to start everybody. I'm going to buy everybody around on this. I mean, if you don't have a great coach that's a Jack Adams winning coach, you should be lining up to get Paul Maurice right now. It's just that simple to me. Guy's one of the best coaches in NHL history. He just hasn't been able to cash in on success yet. For a guy that plays predominantly in small markets, wow, what a job he's done. He did have 2 years in Toronto, but they were unsuccessful. You got to wonder how he would do in one of those bigger markets if he gave it another chance. Phil.
Yeah, I would imagine that if anyone that has any type of coaching vacancy or a potential one coming on, Palmieri is probably not going to be without a job for not very long. And if he doesn't get hired by a team, he's probably going to go be an analyst because he's an incredible hockey mind. He really is. So this is obviously a round that he should be picked up. He will be.
Hold on.
Anthony.
Shot. Not because he's not a good coach. He's a great coach. But, I mean, if you saw his press conference when he resigned from Winnipeg, he basically said that he was finding it hard to go to the rink every day, almost like he just lost his desire to coach, basically. And because of that, I don't think he's definitely doesn't seem like he's in a rush to coach again at this point. I don't think he's actively seeking it out. I mean, maybe eventually he coaches again, but right now I don't think he has any interest in coaching based on how he stepped aside in Winnipeg. I mean, listen, if this guy got fired, then I think, Winnipeg would have been dumb because he's a great coach, and I think a lot of people would be knocking down his door. But I don't think if that's going to happen. I think he just kind of wants to step aside for now, and for whatever reason, he kind of lost his lust to coach at this moment. So for that, I'm going to say shot, but he is a great coach.
Given everything that he's been through in the last year and what a lot of coaches and players have had to deal with, it's more than understandable that he's having trouble trying to get to the rink. I mean, we've all had that problem with just life, and it's just hard right now. But hopefully, again,
you know what? I don't know if it's necessarily just his overall lack of desire to coach as much as it is just being there in the situation itself. Like, I mean, yeah, it's got to be weighing hard on him that he couldn't get the job done, and he's right about everything he said. That's the first time I've ever seen a coach take full accountability for everything like that, even though it's not really all his fault, especially that his star center went out and got himself suspended on a stupid play in the playoffs, basically eliminating his team. So, I don't know if, like I said, if it's him just not having the desire to coach as much as it might be something that's going on behind the scenes in that location that just kind of dampened his spirits being there in that location with that team. So
we're gonna see about that soon enough.
Yeah,
I would be. Again, if I had a team and I didn't have a great coach in play, like I'm happy with the Rangers having Gerard Gallant, for instance, and the Islanders having Barry Trotz. But if, say, for instance, if the Devils fired Lindy Ruff, I'd be driving a dump truck full of money up to his house.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. The current 16 teams in the playoffs will be the 16 teams in May, so we could just draw the line. And if you need a refresher, here we go. There's what we got in the East: Carolina, Washington, Rangers, Tampa, Toronto, Florida. There's your 2 wild cards, and Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, Vegas, Anaheim, Calgary, and the wild cards of Colorado and Edmonton. So, Anthony, let's start with you because I hope the answer is no.
I mean, I think it's a beer for me. I think in the East it's a little harder because I think, we all know Tampa, Toronto, Florida will be there, Carolina, Washington, and likely the Rangers too. Just Pittsburgh. That really just leaves the 2 wildcard teams right now: Pittsburgh and Detroit. And even Pittsburgh, I have a hard time seeing how they would fall out. But Detroit's 3 points up on Boston. I know I said I like them better than Boston, but Columbus is in shouting distance. You have Philly kind of still lurking. They have the same amount of points as Columbus, 29. And hey, in my case, I really hope the Islanders could rattle off 6-7 wins in a row and get back in it. But it's not uncommon that 2 teams maybe flip flop, or a team in 9 and 10 squeak in throughout the course of the season. And out west, Winnipeg right now is on the outside looking in, and I do think that they ultimately make the playoffs. So that's why I'm saying beer because I'm just not sold on the East. But I am confident Winnipeg's going to get in.
Mr. Fogowski.
I'm going to say beer because I think in the West, I think the teams that are in it now are going to make it. I don't see Winnipeg beating out Edmonton because I think Edmonton, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are not playing their best hockey right now. They're going to get back into the rhythm that they were in, and that's going to propel that team. And that team is going to make a move at the deadline. They're going to make a big move at the deadline. They're going to find a way to make space, prorated contract. They're going to go make a move. I'm telling you right now they will, because if that team misses the playoffs, then that starts beckoning the question about whether Connor McDavid wants to stay in Edmonton or not. And management there is not going to want to risk that in the slightest bit. So they are going to do everything that they can to show Connor McDavid that they are serious about taking that next step to get towards contender status. In the East, call me crazy, but if Ryan Ellis is coming back, I can see Philadelphia making moves. I think there's talent there. Cam Atkinson is starting to play better. New coaching change always brings out the best in players. They always respond to it. I just don't know if Detroit is experienced enough to be able to sustain the type of play that they're playing at right now and keep that going down the stretch when the games are going to get tougher. They're going to get harder, and the whistles are going to be a little more in the pockets. So I don't think in the East, I think Detroit's going to fall out of it, but in the West, I think we're looking at the same teams.
I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to say this is it. Buying everybody around. I'm going to say Detroit finds a way to hang on. I think Yzerman might make a couple deals to keep them in the number 8 spot. The top 7 is set. It's over. As far as the West goes, if you're telling me that your 2 worst teams are Colorado, who I think is got a big run in them to move up in the standings, and Edmonton, who I just have too many thoughts with Edmonton. I don't know. Winnipeg could do it. Philadelphia could do it. I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth that Philadelphia could do it. Like I would give Columbus, I think, more of a chance off the top of my head. But yeah, I think you might be onto something on there, Phil. But these teams, I just don't see it. I see the line of demarcation, and I don't see a fall off from any of the 4 Metro teams. I can tell you that. And the top 3 teams, the Atlantic, they're right there. St. Louis is good. Nashville's good. Minnesota just had their worst game of the year the other night, where the fans in Dallas were chanting, "We want Talbot," when they had the empty net. That was hilarious. But it's just, no, I almost think it's over. I think, sorry, Anthony, but that would include the Islanders. It's going to take some good efforts from teams in the second half or in 2022 part of the season.
Has anyone noticed one thing that sticks out in the standings right now? Nashville is second in the Central with 39 points and has played the same amount of games as Minnesota. Like, they were out of the picture. Now they're in second place. Like, what is going on in Nashville?
They went on a really good run.
Yeah. They went on a good run. I think it was a 9-game winning streak. I think it was in November that they did that. And then Nashville basically made a statement when they came to the East Coast and swept the 3 New York area teams. And I'm trying to remember the 4th. I think it was Philadelphia they played as the 4th team in that. But Nashville's a strong team this year. They might not seem like it on paper, but they are. And the competitive rebuild's going really well. And you know what? It's redemption for John Hines. There you go. All right. So, guys, that's going to be the end of our bar talk today. And thank you all for joining us.
You missed one again.
Oh, I missed one? Oh, my goodness. You know what? This is why I do these all on Tuesday. Hold on. We got more for you. All right? We got more.
Oh, my God.
Let me just get that in. Everybody, wow. And by the way, I think it's
Wow.
a doozy. This one is, to be honest with you. I think this is a
geez,
good one.
Lord.
So let's just copy, slide it on over. We got, so you know what? We like so much to do this for you that we're going to do that right now. Almost there. Just got to get a space in there. And I like that his name is spelled correctly too. All right, here we go, everybody. The Coyotes will get their asking price if they trade Jacob Chytil. I wonder who proposed this question, Mr. Larocco.
Yes, there's been a lot of talk about, last week, Elliot Friedman said that the Coyotes are gauging the trade market on Chytil, taking calls. And just the other day, I saw that their asking price is similar to what Buffalo is asking for Eichel, like 4 pieces. Listen, Jacob Chytil had a fantastic year this year. This year he's not having so much of a great year, but let's face it, the Coyotes complete tire fire. This is a young defenseman signed for, I think, 3 or 4 more years of like a cap hit of like 4.1, I believe, top of my head. And I think at his age and being a top defenseman, I think many teams are going to come knocking on that door. He's basically the last really good piece the Coyotes have. So I think if they do make this trade, they're going to want to make sure they're set up, with some good draft capital and prospects. And defensemen like him don't grow on trees, my friend. So I'm gonna go round. I mean, I'm not saying they're all going to be like Trevor Zegras type pieces, but I think they are going to get a good haul for him if they trade him. I think because he's going to be far and away the best player on the trade market come the deadline if they move him. I really do think he's that good. He's just on a really bad team this year, and I think he could help a lot of teams. So if the Coyotes have 30, 29, 28 teams calling on him, maybe realistically 20 teams with serious interest, I think they're going to have their pick of a litter in terms of the return. So I'm going to go round.
I don't blame you for going round. Phil.
Beer. The reason why I say that is because while there would be a ton of interest around the league, one, he has a 10-team no trade. So 10 teams right off the bat are not going to be in that race. Even with that said, there's still going to be a lot of interest. Two, the other thing is that a lot of these teams and general managers start with their asking prices around the moon, and then they end up coming back down to earth. That's what negotiations are. I do think they could get 3 really good assets for Jacob Chytil. He's young. He is 23 years old. The problem with Jacob Chytil is that he's only had 1 really good year. And I think a lot of teams are going to bring that up in negotiations. They're going to look at it and say, hey, other than last year, which was a shortened year, he has not had this type of production or anywhere close to it in any other stretch of his career. And this year is not his fault. That team is a tire fire on wheels on ice. Like, there is no control over where that poor excuse of a ship is going. So, yeah, they will get a good return, but the return that they were asking for, I doubt that unless some team is really desperate and overpays for it, which is possible, but I don't think that's happening. So I'd say beer.
I'm gonna go beer as well. As soon as it clicks on, there we go. And I do have to say, looking at some of the other factors in this isn't exactly the Jack Eichel saga either. You got a guy coming off a really good season and could really be a difference maker. Like, a team could really use him. His contract he's got after this season, it's $4.6 million for the next
3 years.
3 years still. Phil, it's a modified no trade after 23-24.
Yeah, I get that, but it's still, he's got to, and that's if they trade him now. If they trade him in the off season, then that clause kicks in. Oh no, actually no, that kicks in if the 2023-24. All right, never mind. So that's
yeah. So, but I mean, there's a lot of teams that could really go for him right now. He is from Boca Raton, Florida. The Panthers could always go for him. Hell, I mean, obviously Tampa Bay could fit him under the salary cap, considering that they'll just put everyone on IR until the playoffs. There's a lot of teams that could use him. I don't know where the contender is that's actually getting him. Can you guys think of somebody off the top of your head that you?
I don't necessarily think it's a content. I think based on his contract status and his age, I think teams that aren't a top contender right at this moment would also consider trading for him. I mean, the Islanders are a perfect example. I mean, they have a huge need on the left side to replace Nick
the Islanders have the assets anymore.
And well, that is definitely a conversation. But Elliot Friedman in his 32 Thoughts column, he said he wonders if Lou Lamoriello is going to try to get Chytil, and then he said, I'm not going to, which we've made jokes about on this show before. Then he went on to say, I'm going to stop talking about it though, because then Lou will get word of it, and he won't do anything. But I mean, yeah, Phil brings up a good point, but I do think, like, again, teams like the Islanders who may not necessarily make the playoffs are definitely going to be interested in Chytil. But problem
here's the thing. Lou Lamoriello is one of those guys that doesn't overpay for players, and we all know this. So is he going to go out and overpay for Chytil, especially when the market starts to heat up for him? I just don't know if I see Lou Lamoriello getting into a bidding war for him.
Well, if the Coyotes ask for Oliver Wahlstrom, I think the conversation stops. That's the thing. If they ask for Beuvillier, they
didn't want to deal Beuvillier for Sam Gerard.
Yeah,
and Sam Gerard's on that level at least.
I think so.
I mean, I had a friend of mine ask me, it was, you think the Rangers should go after Jacob Chytil? And my answer was kind of why. And the reason why is because if you're going to get him to be a power play trigger man, he's not on power play 1, he'd be on power play 2. And Nils Lundqvist can develop into that. And you don't really have to do much with him. What assets? You're giving up assets. I see Sean's trade that he proposed. It's not bad, but then you're weakening the third line to get Chytil. His was, I'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I saw his before.
Yeah, Nemeth, Kravtsov, Chytil. Oh, good. All right.
Yeah, and Arizona's probably not going to go for something like that. I mean, I get Patrick Nemeth would have to be in there for salary purposes, but here's the thing: you go and you get Jacob Chytil, you stick him on your second pairing, and I would move Keandre Miller for him. I'd have no problem doing that deal. If they said we want Keandre Miller, okay, fine. I'll throw Keandre Miller in that deal.
I think that's a no-brainer to do that.
And you know what? The only reason why I would say that's a better move to make for the Rangers is because their depth of defensive prospects.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about it. You got a Schneider, you got Jones, you got all these guys.
How do you fit in the salary? And then not only that, but after 3 years, you have to re-sign him, and then you're going to have to give him what, $7 million? So you'd have to move Jacob Trouba then, and then you would have to hope at that point that Nils Lundqvist or Braden Schneider are going to be available to step into that top 4 role. So it does create a bit of an issue, but yeah, there is a fit for the Rangers, especially on the left side where they need some significant help.
And it's going to be interesting to see, because I think he's the one major piece that people are going to look at. And I think, you know what? I think Anthony's onto something when he says non-playoff teams, like, say, for instance, the Ottawa Senators are going to check in on him.
Agree. I totally agree with him. There are going to be a lot of teams that would be in and now considering that the no trade doesn't kick in until 2023, I think I think all 30 teams would at least kick the tires on him.
Yeah. And a matter of fact, and even if you want to say the Islanders, let's say it's a first, a second, and Atu Ratu. So they or is it Anthony? Is it Roddy or Ratu?
It's Ratu.
Yeah, it is. But I've seen people pronounce it Ratty as well. But I think it's Ratu.
Yeah, but it's Ratu.
Right. Keep this in mind about
Roddy are wrong.
Keep this in mind about Arizona too when it comes to making a trade like this. They have 5 second-round picks this year and 3 first-round picks. So if they trade Chytil, they're going to just add even more draft capital. So we could laugh at them right now because they're a tire fire. But having 8 picks in the first 2 rounds and potentially 9 or 10 if they make that trade,
Here's the question
They're
for
going to be
me.
set up.
Here's the question for me. If they do not, or if they pull this move and they trade Chytil and they get another first round in this year's draft, and they don't win the lottery and get Shane Wright, does a team take Arizona's offer if Arizona calls them up and says, we'll trade you 2 of our firsts and then whatever other assets to get that first overall pick and get Shane Wright?
I think if, let's say, for instance, the New Jersey Devils gets the first overall pick, a trade's in play. I think a trade would be in play. There would be several teams
know about that.
Because again, you can't have all these guys on the same team. I mean, then either trades in play for one of two things. It would either be to, you know what? I'm not even going to say that out loud. Now it's starting to sound stupid in my brain.
Well,
I think the Devils are set at center.
It's conceivable in a Trick or trade they can get a first, let's say, and a second. That would mean 4 first-round picks and 6 second-round picks. They could do some serious shopping with that too, in terms of getting some NHL talent for the following, for next year.
Here's what I wonder, and something else that just popped into my head. Next year's draft with Bedard and Michkov at the top of it is going to be ridiculous, and Arizona is going to be bad again next year. Do you trade for next year's picks and ensure your chances at Connor Bedard? Because Connor Bedard is being talked about as the next generational talent. And Matvei Michkov is talked about as being one of the best snipers to come through the NHL draft in a very, very long time.
Well, are you going to be in a Matthews Line situation or a Crosby and Ovechkin situation if they were both in the same draft year? That's what you would hope for, where you can't miss. But on the other hand, Patrick Laine can't notice he's not in Winnipeg anymore.
I don't know. I don't think Patrick Laine was, or even Austin Matthews is on either of these two levels as.
Oh, I was just talking about the levels of can't miss players or anything else. So, although, wait, you don't think Austin Matthews on their level?
Austin Matthews as a prospect was viewed as a potential franchise player. These two players, Bedard and Michkov, are. And Ariana's right. A team in a position to draft Bedard isn't trading that pick either. But what if you put together a package that would absolutely blow the socks off, that you could rebuild your team in an entire year? Look at Edmonton. They've got McDry, but what else do they have after that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Bedard right now. And I've watched a ton of film on him. I've gone through game film. I've gone through reviews and evaluations of him. I've looked up so much about him. He shoots the puck better than anyone I've ever seen at 16 years old. His shot is near NHL elite level status. It's approaching that at 16 years old. His change of pace, his deceptions, his skating, his hockey IQ, it's next level. This kid is a can't miss. And Michkov, as a sniper, he might be one of the most dynamic Russians I think I've seen since Pavel Bure. I'm telling you right now, these kids are going to dominate at that next level.
Yeah, and that's why I think Ariana had this comment. I think a lot of teams have that in mind about Bedard and Michkov, and I don't think a lot of teams are going to be willing at this point even – risk moving next year's first in the event that something happens where they're in the lottery and they can have a chance at getting that top pick.
Yeah, see, but that's a good point. But by the way, one of the things I'll tell you about that is there's going to be the teams that don't think they're in the lottery next year that might trade their pick because they're competitive this year. Take for instance, I'm just using it for an example, the Flyers. They go on a run. They get the last wild card, and they're like, oh, we can do something to the playoffs. They trade away the first round pick, which I think is gone anyway. But I'm just saying that for an example. A team might reach, Edmonton Oilers. They might try to do that and then totally.
Could you imagine if Edmonton ended up absolutely losing out somehow in some sort of crazy way? lost out, and then all of a sudden they ended up in the lottery next year. Ended up getting Bedard. Oh my God. Oh.
Again, you can't have all those guys on the same team eventually.
You're right.
As a matter of fact, it would be ridiculous. And that would be totally the Edmonton thing. But they still wouldn't be able to win anything. So it would be all right. Okay. All right. So by the way, also everybody, thank you, Sean, for reminding me about this. But I want my Philk wrestling. So we're gonna move on right now. So what do you think about the rest of our topics? Do you think what would you give up for Jacob Chychrun to come to your team right now this season? Especially with that is a sweetheart deal. 4.6 million and 4.6 million over the next 3 years also. So then you have Paul Maurice. Would you be winding up to get him to coach for your team? Nazem Kadri putting together a great season. Should the Islanders repair Wahlstrom and Barzal, or pair them up, I should say? Throw it all down in the comments below. So I heard there's a rumor that this Christmas is coming on Saturday. And we put together our naughty and nice list. This is where we're just each selecting one nice player and one naughty player or executive or anything else. And no, the Blackhawks are not on here. But it's we're going to go with first our nice list. And John, what is your nice player?
Well, my nice player is Austin Matthews, because Austin Matthews, entering the month of December, was 10 goals behind the league leader in goals in the NHL, Leon Draisaitl. And as of right now, he's only 3 behind Leon Draisaitl. Austin Matthews has 20 goals in 27 games. And just to do a little math, that is 61 or 60.7 goals over an 82-game season. That's ridiculous. And if there's anybody that has the potential, aside from Alexander Ovechkin this year, that is, to break the 60-goal mark, again, it's Austin friggin' Matthews. So, yeah, Austin Matthews is on my nice list, and I think he'd be on all Torontonians' nice list.
I'm going to go next for mine. So that way because we got a video for Anthony's. And by the way, that's the one downside for being an American and not seeing them in the Olympics, not seeing Austin Matthews put on that Team USA jersey for the Olympics. He still might do it later on for the World Championships. My nice guy is Robin Lehner. You know what? You're going to tell me that you're still going to honor your old team. He has been nothing but nice about the New York Islanders since leaving them. And he didn't want to leave. They lowballed him, and then he ended up signing with the Blackhawks. And he's just a genuine guy, has the tattoo on his neck, had the standing ovation, and then he beat his old team on Sunday, which I actually had a full game recaps that I was going to go with, but then we decided to just keep going. So Robin Lehner, you know what? I got to put him as my nice guy. Anthony.
How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Sorry.
Anthony, you're a nice guy.
Dylan Larkin. As we all know, beer is precious to individuals, and they're overpriced at sporting events. And Dylan Larkin accidentally knocked over these two fans' beer as he jumped on the glass in warm-ups. And he actually had the presence to realize that he did it. And he went a step further and had the team purchase new beers for him. And I think that's a really great gesture. It just kind of shows the type of people hockey players are. We really are a different breed. And good on him for realizing that and doing the right thing. And I'm sure he made those fans' day. And it's a great story. So good on you, Dylan Larkin, for doing that. I think a lot of players may not even realize it happened or even think about kind of replacing it for him. So I thought that was really nice of Larkin. It's just one of those feel good things. So good on him.
And by the way, this is the video from it.
Oh, I can't handle it. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. Oh, no. I feel terrible. You knocked their beer over? Yeah, sorry. Hey. Where'd Zuby go? Zuby! You got your wallet on you?
Yeah,
You got 20 bucks?
I think so. You need 20 bucks more.
I got 20 bucks in my dry cell. I knocked over the guy's beer.
You got what?
I knocked over the guy's beer.
Oh.
I feel bad. Right behind the net. See him in the gray or in the Red Wings sweatshirt? First row. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's just awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. It would be so cool if my laptop wasn't lagging so I could watch the video again. But yeah,
Don't worry. I can always send it to you.
I'm just commenting on how lag is going on with me. So
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. So on to our naughty list. And I got to start with John. Mr. Filkowski, what do you got for me on the naughty list?
Vander Kane. Vander Kane has if there was a naughty tree, and Vander Kane fell out of it and hit every damn branch possible on the way down. So I mean, you're getting into all this controversy, all this stuff going on off the ice. Then the team wants to get rid of him, and now all of a sudden, it's just all this other nonsense that's going on with him. He's his own worst enemy. This man is literally his own worst enemy. He goes and plays in an AHL game, and he has guys going after him. He's just he needs to snap out of whatever he's doing, and he needs to grow the hell up. So he's on my naughty list.
He's a guy that Josh Hosang would probably find immature. I'm going to go to my naughty guy, which, I said originally I'd abstain in case if you guys would do it, but then we didn't use him. So I got to go with PK Subban. PK, you're going to be a dynamite broadcaster. Stop with the slew foots. I can't say it enough. And unfortunately, Sammy Blais is done for the rest of the year because of him. He took down Trevor Zegras, and there was one other guy that I know that he took down this year. It's just no. Too good of a player to be doing this. And
Okay.
and again, he's going to be a great, not good, a great NHL analyst and NHL personality. But if you're going to have these videos about you, it's going to end up ruining your second career. So stop. Anthony.
Brett Connolly. He put a hit on Tanner Kero in Dallas that was predatory. Granted, he might have thought that he was about to get the puck, but he just kind of ran over him. It was a high hit. It knocked out Kero. Kero was rendered unconscious. It was a scary scene. And Brett Connolly was suspended 4 games for it, and rightfully so. You got to be smarter than that. You have to have some more respect for your fellow NHL players. And I thought it was late. He didn't have the puck. It was high. It had all the makings of a suspendable hit. And I'm glad that the league came down on him for it. And I actually saw the post game of that. They interviewed Pavelski. I don't know if you guys saw it. And he actually legitimately got choked up talking about it because he remembered the hit that happened to him when he was on San Jose. And he referenced it's always scary to see a teammate and a good person like that in such such a bad state laying on the ice. So no need for that in our game. No. Brett Connolly, you should know better. And I'm glad that the league handed him a 4-game suspension. In my opinion, it could have been even a little more, but I'm glad that he got suspended and I did the right thing. But most importantly, I hear Caro's, he was okay and he'll make a full recovery, but it was a scary hit.
Yeah, and there's no need for that hit. And unlike with Jujhar Khaira and Dave right here pointed to that the Chicago fans were comparing that to Trouba's hits, which is a load of crap. You honestly, if you're comparing those two hits, you're so off base, it's not even funny. But Seth Jones threw what we call a suicide or a buddy pass to Jujhar Khaira and put Jujhar Khaira in a bad position. The puck was there. Brett Connolly had every intention of taking Tanner Kiro's head off. And you could see it. He comes from a distance to do so. And then all of a sudden, the puck doesn't really even get to him, and he takes him out. And he didn't even have to do that. He could have slowed up, and he could have just, gave him a nudge and just knocked him down instead of absolutely driving right through him and absolutely walloping him. There was, even if Tanner Kiro gets that puck and turns around, all that it's going to take with him being in that position is just a nudge. And he's going to be caught off balance. He's going to be caught in a prone position, and he's just going to get knocked down. He's going to lose the puck. You don't have to do much to separate the player from the puck there. And that's the point of a body check. But Brett Connolly had every intention of taking his head off, and he did. So, I'm definitely with Anthony on the naughty for Brett Connolly.
By the way, Isles Girl, this is the first time I've seen you on here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, that's I'm pretty sure that's that girl Kim. That I see her sometimes on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
But,
again,
she's been featured on MSG Network and stuff like that. So welcome to the show.
Oh, great. All right. So, yeah, because again, we talk everything, not just Rangers and everything else. We like to talk about the Islanders too. But there's been other people we could put in the naughty list this year all over the place. I made the joke about the Blackhawks. Clearly, their entire organization could be in there right now.
Yeah, but that's too obvious.
I mean, that's a little bit too obvious.
And it's beating
the NHL and themselves, the way they've handled the COVID protocols and situations. Like I said, they screwed the Islanders. They could have delayed the UBS opening.
The Senators too.
Yeah. So there's two of them. And COVID itself could be on the naughty list because after all, that's basically one reason why a lot of these teams are having financial problems like right now. And there's a lot of we could talk about the other nice stuff. Obviously, Connor McDavid can make all these lists. So we don't need to do that. He's certainly helping my fantasy team.
Nazem Kadri could. I mean, he's been a blessing for Colorado with Nathan McKinnon out for as long as he was.
Nazem Kadri could make both these lists because, as I said before, it's only a matter of time till he gets suspended for hitting somebody the wrong way.
You're right. It's probably going to happen. I mean, I know we've all been really hard on him over the last couple of years or so. And that's what I said before, Kim. I said that Ottawa and the Islanders were literally the guinea pigs. I literally said those words earlier on. So, but every Ranger fan's been hard on him over the last couple of years. But Alexander Georgiev, where's the love for him stepping up? So he could be on my nice list this year.
You know what? Chris T's got a good one. Justin Trudeau could be on the naughty list because some of their policies just really killing this season. But you know what? Alexander Georgiev, he stepped up, and like I said, when he stepped into the net in that Chicago game with that save percentage, the only way he could have missed.
Yeah,
the only way he could have had that low of a save percentage was to actually dodge shots. But yeah, Drake Batherson, I got him on my fantasy team.
What about Jacob Markstrom would be another one stepping up big time for Calgary.
Stepping up big time. But you got him and you got
Jack Campbell.
Daryl Sutter, who's a great reason for Calgary's success.
Yeah.
How much does Calgary look like the LA Kings of old right now?
Yeah, they do. Just minus the great center depth and aside from Johnny Gaudreau, the big top end talent, I just don't know if they have the pieces to win it all. But again, if you make a move at the deadline, who knows?
Yeah. And you know what? We'll stick with the Islander theme for a minute because I know Anthony would say Ilya Sorokin is definitely on the nice list because where would the Islanders be without him?
I've said this before. Islanders would be a lottery team, and they wouldn't even come. They wouldn't have a chance at even making the playoffs right now. They would have zero chance if it wasn't for the play of Ilya Sorokin. He's been a godsend for that team. David,
that's a great one because Bruce Boudreau, I've said it before, even though I've called him hockey's Marty Schottenheimer, but I would love it if this guy could have any success. I would love it if he could just run off a team and win a Stanley Cup because everybody that talks about Bruce Boudreau says how he's the nicest guy.
I would have to agree with Kim on the Georgiev thing. I think once Igor gets back and he really starts getting the majority of the starts again, it's probably going to hurt Georgiev a bit. And I definitely agree with Chris here. Chandler Stevenson, who didn't look anything like a top 6 center before last year. And then even last year, he really was like, we were all talking about how they need somebody better than Chandler Stevenson. Jack Eichel would be a fit for Vegas. And Chandler Stevenson is now like, oh, you want to go get Jack Eichel? Oh, I'll just turn myself into a point per game player. No big deal.
And, it actually, and by the way, I'm happy when some of this stuff happens and my predictions are wrong. But I made the prediction back when they acquired Eichel and Vegas was not playing well. They were a bit of a tailspin. I'm going to pull Anthony out for a little bit until he pulls himself back in.
I thought I was out, but they pulled me back in.
They pulled me back in. I made the prediction that Vegas is going to miss the playoffs and Pete DeBoer was going to get fired. Now it's looking like not only do they have a top line where Chandler Stevenson can play between Pacioretty and Stone, but in a month or two, you can get Jack Eichel on that team. That could change around a lot.
You're going to get Jack Eichel on that line eventually. That's going to move Chandler Stevenson down to your third line. And think about that 1-2-3 punch. If that 1-2-3 punch is not the very best in the league, it's got to be right behind, I would say, maybe Pittsburgh with Crosby, Malkin, and Carter.
I would say, and by the way, Roy's coming along. Or wait, Roy or Wah? I think it's Wah. Sorry. Matt Wah. Sorry, my mistake.
Nick Wah. Sorry.
But Wah's coming along great. He's tied his career total from last year. I mean, I would actually keep Eichel away from. I would keep that Stevenson, Pacioretty, Stone line together, and I'd try to do something else with Eichel.
I just don't think Eichel is going on your third line. I think if anything, Chandler Stevenson would be more.
You're playing a top 9, not a top 6.
Your audio is low, Mark.
Oh, did it do that again? I found it out from last time. Hold on. Why would?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it automatically adjusts and moves down. So
yeah,
I don't understand why it would do that out of nowhere. So
I just don't think you trade all those assets for Jack Eichel and then have him come in and be your third line center. I just can't see it. I can't.
But again, I got to bring David back into this one. If he's not playing, I think the he is referring to Stevenson. If he's not playing with Stone and Pacioretty, is he still producing in the same way?
Probably not, because he's going to be getting less minutes, and he'll probably still get power play time, but he's going to be playing on a third. Just think of the Rangers' third line in 2014 with Brassard, Pouliot, and Zuccarello. Did Brassard and Zuccarello belong on a third line?
Oh, no.
No, they didn't. But that third line was probably the best third line in the entire NHL. And the Rangers balanced out their top 3 lines. And there was no real second, first, or third line. It was just whatever line AV wanted to go with, he went with. But I don't know. I just don't see Jack Eichel being on, quote-unquote, their third line.
But remember what you say about Ryan Strome, about taking Ryan Strome away from Panarin. The chemistry's there.
I get it, but I don't know if you can necessarily do that with someone as elite as Jack Eichel. That's apples to oranges, Mark.
Yeah. And by the way, I do have to say this. the great thing about hockey, you could try it in one game, and if it doesn't work, you could change it on the next shift. You don't have to be stuck.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
So
You're right.
it's not like a batting order. Eichel is a 1C, would also fit as a 2C. Yep. So by the way, we're gonna conclude right now with the naughty and nice list and go right to Q&A. Guys, thank you very much. Are there any other players you'd want to put on the nice list and players you want to put on the naughty list? And just let us all know. Throw it down in the comments below. All right. Like I said before, and I kind of smiled and joked about it. I did have the game recaps where we could have talked about both teams this week in the New York area giving up a late goal to Vegas. But
yeah,
whenever there's a game afterwards, check to see this man right here, the good, the bad, the ugly. We might rename it for the late night pucks or something like that, or other things to throw for Phil. But he always does a good, bad, and ugly after the game. Yeah. And just go through the thoughts, put it on the Facebook page. If not, he'll do a video.
Yeah, I do that with the Rangers. Anthony's is clapping bombs for the Islanders. So if you want to watch Islander material, Anthony's usually really good with all that. Hold on. All right. I just saw this question pop up. What are the odds the game happens on the 27th? It's going to happen from the sound of it. And yeah, I don't see why they would call it off now. There's no and yeah, I don't see how it that ends up getting called off now, because there's no word necessarily of them kind of extending the pause. So
yeah, I actually think that they don't want to do the pause longer than because they're coming back to the team facility on the 26th. Yeah, they want to get going again, and they're going to come back. You know what, Rich? That's a great name. I'm going to go with those. I'm going to show up those two names in a second. But it's looking like they want to get back on the ice, and they're going to ease some protocols. I just don't know if state and local officials and I guess provincial and country officials in Canada will let them ease up. We'll see about that, because everybody still thinks COVID-0 is an option. But it is nice that it's always good to be up to date on news for everything. That way you can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll if you're up after the Ranger games, I mean, I'm on usually 99.9% of them. I will do. If you're a part of the Facebook group, Big Apple Hockey on Facebook, I usually post whether or not I'm going to do them. The only time I won't do them for the most part is if I have something I have to do afterwards, or if I'm at the game itself. So, but
again, it's nice that at least, because I got a friend of mine, he runs all things Islanders, and I keep encouraging him. I'm like, John, come on, we're going to go out for a beer in about another hour and a half, or 2 hours probably. And it's like, dude, come on, you got to get more Islander fans on here. Although I keep telling the story about it, that we had a conversation, me and Anthony, back at the beginning of November, that Islander fans like the show. They just wish we talked more about the Islanders. And then after that, the Tampa game happened, the 4-game losing streak, the COVID, and everything else. It's sort of just been like, sorry, didn't mean to jinx you.
Well,
John,
I feel like that's sometimes misery loves company. So if the Rangers were doing miserable, I feel like all the Ranger fans would flock in because they just want to vent. And I thought the Islander fans would come in and want to do that too. I mean, yeah, of course, when everything's riding high, you're right. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, we definitely want more Islanders content. We want to be able to do Devils content too, but it doesn't seem like we get many. We've had more Canes and Blackhawks and Avalanche fans in here than we've had Devils fans. Oh, man.
We're eventually targeting world domination on this, but it's gonna just take some time. So I also have to throw these two out of your Phil. Dave threw out Phil's puck and reaction. I like that, but I also like the what the filk. It's just
What the filk? Yeah,
what the filk.
that's
That
a
could
good one.
actually be great. Oh, my ongoing joke is we could talk to the devil fan. So,
Oh, geez.
Dan, by the way, you're 100% right on this, and I did have an editorial. Do we got a couple minutes for an on the mark?
Your call, my friend. Your call.
Okay. Keep on with the comments and the questions coming. But Dan, I'm going to highlight this again in a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'd be in the chats with all of you, but my laptop is just lagged to no end right now, and the video on my screen is moving like really slow too.
It'll all be all right. Well, I could cover. I could do both if you need me to. Not as entertaining, or you could just tell me when to click on it. But we're gonna do a quick on the mark for you guys. This prediction that's right up here.
Being single most of my life.
Or just yell at Larry Brooks like every other New York Ranger. So I gotta say, with all the different protocols and everything that was happening this week, I heard a very terrible, terrible story. But first, it's the question is, how is all these protocols and everything affecting kids coming to the games? Now, there was a 6-year-old that a guy at the bar was telling me about. Kid loves hockey, plays Pee-wee hockey and everything. He was going to his first ever Ranger game. Hours before he was going to go, the protocol came up from New York on that he couldn't go because they were having the vaccine mandate for 5 to 12-year-olds. They just announced that at the Garden or in New York. And the kid was devastated by this. And I think about myself in going to my first Met games, always with my mother and my grandfather. It was always such a great place to go, even though, well, back then the Mets used to win. So it was fantastic. And it's just, I'm wondering exactly if that'll end up hurting the next generation of hockey players and NHL players coming on in. This is supposed to be a place where all of us can get together. Madison Square Garden, UBS Arena, formerly Nassau Coliseum, elsewhere. Citi Field, Shea Stadium, Yankee Stadium. I said it twice because there is a brand new one. It's just, there's so many places where we're supposed to be getting everybody together. Doesn't matter who believes what, or just all of our opinions go aside. The only opinion that matters is the team we root for and whether or not we like the sport that we're in front of. I had because I'm going to highlight that comment yet again, Dave, because you have you coming in from California to watch the game and see your family, and you don't know right now if the game's going to be played. That's terrible. I went to Nashville, and part of the series that I'm going to try to do is going to every single arena. Hopefully I could drag these guys along with me occasionally. And that's, you already made plans. You're flying out here. Thank goodness you're seeing family. But I mean, imagine if you come out and they just go, nah, the game's canceled. Then that's going to affect everything down the line. And it's I'm going to bring Phil back in. I wonder how it affects the fans, and it affects the kids that are going to the game, because to me, seeing a baseball game with my grandfather was always the greatest thing. And it didn't matter what year it was with the Mets, whether it was 86 or it was 92. It was something I always loved doing, because seeing the game is what happens.
It sucks. It really does. It just, like I said, I'm over all this. I really am. It's gotten tiring. It just seems like it's never ending. And at what point do we finally like realize that this isn't going anywhere? I'm down to go to every arena too. I've gotten to go to Capital One Arena for the Capitals years back, TD Garden for Boston. I always said I wanted to do Philly, but I'm definitely not wearing any type of Ranger stuff there because that's just asking for trouble. But yeah, and I feel bad for people that want to go to these games and stuff like that. You were told one thing, and now everything's changing, and all this stuff just keeps on happening. It just when is enough enough? I don't know. And
It's a question on when do our public officials get pressure to change around their stance? Now, again, we're not trying to get into politics. And I'll go into the arena talk again in a second, especially when we just get out of this thing. But hearing that I couldn't go to a game, like even as a little kid, it would be devastating. And after all, I went to a game one time after the day after a friend of mine died in a car accident. And the game was actually something that picked up my spirits again. And eventually I had to go and say goodbye to him. I understand this is a public health issue, and I understand those people are thinking they're doing their best, but I think it's a couple of the things are right. It's just like it'll never. Rich saying it'll never end. COVID will be over by 2030. It's we've had so many different things, and it's just, are these policies really there for our benefit, or is it just? I mean, sooner or later, yeah, the baby bird's got to leave the nest. You got to just trust us to do the right thing. And I'm going to say something stupid, politically speaking, eventually, if I keep going on this. So, Phil, take it home.
I'm just tired of it. I really am. It's eventually the world had to learn how to live with influenza, and whether anyone likes it or not, it's going to have to happen again in order for the world to be able to move on. So I'm done talking about this stuff. It's just it's annoying. I'm over it. I really am.
Yeah. Oh wait, Dave. Let's see what this one is. Picked up my dad for PA, bringing to the Whalers, and yeah. Those would be, again, sports is a place where we all can get together, and right now it's being taken away from us, and I do question about the policies and everything else that are in place. But we are going to answer more of your questions right now. Let's put that one up there. By the way, for the arenas, the list of the arenas, because we're doing this for the channel, are now reset for me. But I did go to the Honda Center. Let's see, the Honda Center, Air Canada Center, the Bell Center. I've joked around about this before. Out of all the cities, what?
You got Nashville out of the way too.
Well, Nashville's now the first one on the list, and if we can include MSG, because we did have that for the channel, I'll have to put that on there when Big Apple Hockey went to the preseason game for the Rangers and the Islanders. That was a great day. That was a great time. But I've joked around that I'm nervous about two cities, one being Philadelphia because they might not like me being a Ranger fan. The other one is Winnipeg, where it's 50 degrees in July. Can only imagine how that's going to be. But it'll be great to see. The whole purpose of the Mark on the Road, I know I put it in the ticker all the time, is to see how fan experiences go. There are other cities that I'm looking forward to in other events. Phil said he would be down to doing the teddy bear toss in Calgary. So there's so many. You did say that in one of the chats.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about. I was like, what the hell? And then no, I
where
know.
they score, where the hitman, they score the goal and they all throw the teddy bears on.
Slide through those. That wasn't Calgary. That was a WHL game.
Oh, but they do it in that though. I know that.
In Calgary?
I think it's Calgary. Oh, it was a Calgary hitman.
I don't think that. Oh, I thought you meant the Flames. I was about to say what?
No.
Yeah, in the WHL they did it. It was the Calgary hitting in the
But I did put up the video on there. You can check it out anytime. And Bridgestone, if you haven't been there, gorgeous arena. And you're right outside Broadway in Nashville. All the honky tonks, a great place to just go and just either hang out with the guys or just go just drink and stuff. It's fantastic. And the people there, they were all really nice. They were all great. So,
And Chris T brings that name up once again, the name that we were all trying to get over, but we can't escape it.
But
Yeah.
PNC, no, really, PNC is the loudest arena.
San Jose is pretty loud too.
Yeah,
San Jose is very, very loud.
I can't wait to see the Shark Tank. That's one of those ones I can honestly say I can't wait to see. But by the way, Chris T, going back to this one, I still maintain Booch had to go, but the idea of not playing Kratzov to finish him, to plug the hole. But you know what? It's starting to look like Kakko's making that jump again. What do you think? What do you make about Kakko's recent play, John?
The last 5 or so games have not really been great outside of, I would say, the last game. Before that, he was kind of down a bit and needed to be better. But the last game against Vegas, that first line looked really good. So hopefully they could keep that up going forward. But I've liked what I've seen to a point. I need more consistency from him. I need more. It's simply not enough from him. One of the things just to mention though with Panarin being out though was Zibanejad filling in the Panarin spot and doing his thing, and it's kind of waking him up a little bit. Yeah, which was good. So maybe Panarin being out and then only missing a couple of games is actually going to be a blessing in disguise, because maybe it gets Zibanejad going. The other thing with Buchnevich is when I look back at it, Barclay Goodrow is not worth $3.6 million. And I think we all said that when he got that contract, the day that we found out what the terms on that contract were. So you could probably get somebody that's giving you, or somebody that could give you what Barclay Goodrow has given the Rangers for, I would say, maybe a third of the AAV. So you're saving a good at least $2 million by let's just say it's 1 to 1.2 million for whatever player. I mean, Dryden Hunt has been better than Barclay Goodrow this season so far. So let's just say you didn't sign Barclay Goodrow and you got someone like a Dryden Hunt, or maybe they got Michael Bunting instead of Barclay Goodrow. So you have two players that combine to make not even half of what Barclay Goodrow is making, and then you don't sign Patrick Nemeth and you sign John Merrill at $850K instead of Patrick Nemeth at $2.5 million. So you save another $2 million there. Even with Ryan Reeves making $1.75 million, you could find other ways to make the space for Pavel Buchnevich. And that's probably the most disappointing part about the entire offseason, is if you overpaid Goodrow and Nemeth, the $6 million that you gave them could have went towards Buchnevich and a bunch of other players to round out that bottom six at that point. So that's what pisses me off. And if they were going to alienate Kravtsov the way that they were going to do, then you shouldn't have traded Buchnevich at that point. You should have paid those two.
And again, going to the Kravtsov situation, they kind of alienated him for Libor Hayek, which that's just ridiculous.
I want to put my head through a wall every time I think about that.
That's why, you know what, Chris, you're on the naughty list for that one. I like a lot of your moves this year, but yeah, that's the naughty list on that one. Because it was the day we did the live stream when Zibanejad signed. It was a Sunday, and I had work afterwards, but somebody said it to me. I forgot who it was. Might have been Granny, and I just went, you know, if they cut Kratz off, he's not going to be a Ranger ever again. You have no value. Well, he might not be a Ranger ever again, and right now he has no value.
I see David's comment here in defense of Gaudreau. He's a good fourth liner, can kill penalties. But the problem is that he's an offensive black hole. At $3.6 million, you've got to provide some sort of offense. And you knew that he was the Robin to Gord and Coleman's Batman.
Yes.
On that line. I completely understood that. I knew that he was never going to be worth $3.6 million. But you've got to be at least worth $2 million. And he hasn't given you that type of production. His defense has been underwhelming. His penalty killing is decent. But there have been a lot of times where I've said to myself, why is Barclay Goodrow not in the right position to make the play defensively? And it's many more times than I should be saying. This is someone who was lauded as a great defensive player, but this reminds me so much of a modern-day Brian Skrudland, but not as good defensively.
And I'm actually trying to look up right now so I could say this to you with a little bit of a smile. More points right now, Barclay Goodrow or Blake Coleman?
Blake Coleman.
And I'm almost there. All right. Barclay Goodrow and him are tied in goals with 4 each. Goodrow actually has 7 assists to Coleman's 3. So,
and Coleman is playing.
I think he's playing. I'm not sure if he's getting top line minutes. Goodrow did for a little bit.
He's getting 15 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that, though. Calgary's scoring, there's no depth in their scoring. Their number 5 scorer is Oliver Shillington with 15 points in 27 games. Yes, he's on pace for 40 points, over 40 points. Rasmus Anderson has 15 points, no goals in 28 games. Sean Monahan is utter trash. 30 points in 28 games. He's not even on pace for 40 points, Sean Monahan. Sean Monahan has gone downhill. So, yeah.
I mean, what happened to that guy?
They have 4 players with 20 points. And then after that, there's a 5-point drop-off, and they only have 10 players that have double-digit points. And 1, 2, 3 of those 10 are defensemen.
Yeah, Rasmus Anderson, 15 assists.
That's not good.
15 assists, 0 goals.
That's what
he only has 42 shots on net this year. That's not.
And Mangiapane's been great. He's got 17 goals. He's near the top of the league in goals. He's having a great year. But
go ahead, Phil. It's one of your favorite stats to quote.
What?
Mangiapane's shooting percentage.
The shooting percentage on Mangiapane? Unsustainable. Just under 24%. 23.9%. So that's not going to carry into next year. And it's probably not even going to carry out the rest of the year. But the thing that I'll give Mangiapane credit for is that he's getting into the right spots in high danger areas, and that's how he's getting a lot of his goals.
Yeah.
He's just getting to the right spots, getting open, getting in the right places at the right times. But that, again,
and also on the rush.
You got to make sure that you convert at a high clip, and it's hard to continue to convert at a high clip like that. So that's why I would be worried about Calgary unless they make a move. And that's another thing. Like, their center depth, it's Elias Lindholm and what else? Monahan's a joke right now. What else? If Blake Coleman had a center that could actually make plays, because Sean Monahan away from Johnny Gaudreau is nothing. Yes, and Rich, I know that. Actually, Steven has pointed out that mangiapane means eat bread in Italian. Mangia is eat, and pane is bread in Italian.
Yeah. Mangi. Actually, I think it's you eat bread, to be honest. I think mangi, is it you or is it they eat bread? But anyway, yes, it's eat bread. It's still hilarious.
Yeah. So can we get Mangiapane to play with Panarin so we can have the eat bread line?
Oh God. Yes. Yes. I mean,
I would take Mangiapane on their wing. Oh man, he would be a little water bug with them, and he would cause a lot of havoc.
I would, by the way, again, I would love it if the Vancouver Canucks would somehow find a way to make it into the playoffs. 8-2 in their last 10, winners of 6 in a row, and I think they're unbeaten for Bruce. And right now they're only 6 points behind Edmonton with 2 extra games played.
I just wonder about their defense. Their defense is just not good. It's not good at all. I mean, Quinn Hughes is another one, just like Cal McCarr, not good defensively. I mean, then you have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's supposed to be a minutes eater for them. Again, not good defensively. I mean, these guys can put up points, but again, where's the defense?
Borrego. Hey, all right. Mean Girl, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she's watching from rural Canada.
Rural Canada. Where in rural Canada are you?
And what's your team?
Yeah, it's funny because Elias Pettersson, only 16 points. He's played better as of late. But again, 16 points in 31 games, inexcusable. That's just over 40 points for a guy in his first 3 years was just under a career point per game player. It's inexcusable.
And for that, Rich, there's only one thing to say. To be fair. To be fair.
Connor Garland, 22 points in 31 games. I mean, right about
how good has Connor Garland been for them?
GT Miller, point per game, leading the charge of Vancouver. Brock Besser has finally started coming around for them. He's finally starting to score. So if Brock Besser continues to do his thing, then you know what, that's a big get for them. And thank you very much, Jason. I've been seeing your comments. I saw Dylan before too, but like I said, just lag over here, so I can't be with you guys.
Yeah, and I've been working on getting into the comments. Usually I'm on the graphics and everything else.
Yeah, I might be looking into my own Wi-Fi soon. So
pitter patter, let's get at her.
But yeah, it's definitely good to see some new faces in there. Came in there before, Mean Girl, and then some other names that I either haven't seen. There was one earlier on before that I think you even said welcome to the show too, Mark.
Yeah, there was and it wasn't just Kim, it was other people. By the way, as always, Oilers got to oil. I'm going back real quick just to see if I can
taping the stick. There you go. You go up and over, or you go along the blade. I usually do along the blade if I'm playing roller hockey. Go over and over if I'm doing ice. So
I usually go around the blade first, and then I go toe to the heel.
Oh, I always go heel to toe. Always heel to toe. Unless if I'm playing roller hockey, if I'm playing indoor roller hockey, then I'll do the I'll do toe to blade, and I'll do I'll do stripes. I'll do 3 stripes across that way because I like having the bottom exposed because it slides better at that point.
No, sorry, I thought about something else I was going to say, but then I just wanted to say if there's anybody that's watching right now that could pass on a message, John Carroll, I wish you the best. Friend of mine who I used to work with at Sears, that's how long ago it was, and used to play hockey with for a while. He was playing against my team last night, made a move around, and it looked like he might have blowing out his knee last night. So I hope that's not the case. He was down and he thought he heard a pop. So I'm hoping John's okay. But
Robbie
yeah,
at 7G. I think this is the first time I've seen you on here, so welcome to the show as well.
Yep. Rob, welcome.
Runner on the bottom, heel to toe. I like it. Wayne Gretzky was always the most meticulous person with all of his TH jobs that has probably ever played. You would be like, what are you doing? It looked like he would be dissecting the blade. So, yeah, but I do agree prayers to John with the speedy recovery with that.
Trying to remember who said it. If it was one of Gordie Howe's kids. I can't remember because I used to watch the instructional videos. Here's how, and he used to say, "Oh, Bobby Orr used to just put one piece of tape on there and say that's all you need." And like, okay, don't think that's
Bobby
right.
Orr didn't need much. He was one of the fastest skaters ever back when skates were heavy leather and clunky blades, and sticks were logs. So if Bob, could you imagine Bobby Orr with today's conditioning, health, surgeries, amenities, everything like that? Bobby Orr would probably look like Connor McDavid on the ice.
By the way, I made this joke before. I'll say it again. I guess it's good that we're getting all these bots and everything showing up. So that way, maybe it means we're making it. So, because if we were that small, then, wouldn't have had to worry about anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's progress. I mean, it's kind of like, we reach a certain amount of subscribers. Yay, progress. And now next are all the Russian spam bots. Progress.
Yes. Eventually, we got to get to the point where we can make enough that we can have somebody just here to do that.
Skates. What skates do I use? I use Bauer and roller hockey. Ice. I had a pair of Graphs, but I lost my stuff in Sandy. I had it stored in Island Park, and it's all gone now. So, but yeah.
I'm trying to remember all my skates. I started with Bauer Turbos. If you remember those they were fully plastic one-piece skates. So there was that. There was I think there were Bauer Pro 3s was where I went to, and because everybody tries to get me to spend $600 for Vapors. I'm not doing that. I just can't. But I'm a Bauer guy.
CCM makes really good and comfortable skates. In terms of like breaking in their skates, CCMs are probably the easiest and most comfortable to break in. So jet speeds are awesome. Sometimes I wish there were bots on the rink shooting on me. That's because Jason just doesn't want us all shooting on him again. So we see you, Jason. We see you. I'll tell the boys about that.
And then on.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
It's a live stream. Oh, by the way, once again, John, thank you for the 5.
I said that before, so but
I did motion to thank you too.
No, I didn't know if he actually heard me or not because it was kind of like mid conversation that I was saying it. But yeah, John, we appreciate that as well. As always, you're very generous to us. Chris's,
you think it's ever fair to try to switch eras?
It's never fair to try to switch eras. It's just not. And some of the things I've said before, and I've had this argument with Gretzky. I've had this with a friend. My friend Nick, talked about Ovechkin playing in Gretzky's era. And I said, okay, so take away composite sticks, give him clunky skates, the clunky Graphs with the black tucks, give him those. Take away the training amenities, take away attention to physical fitness, nutrition, and so on. Take away skills and skating coaches because they really didn't use those back then. Have him work a full-time job in the offseason instead of, training every day on his own or whatever. I mean, just a lot of like awareness that North Americans did not have that the Russians had back then, but the Americans did not have, the North Americans. So,
But also, I can't help but say some other things like this. And by the way, Rich, you're 100% right. Skates don't make the skater. But also, some rules changed because of the player. Whoop, I put that one on. I wanted to go back to this one. Because of the player that was there. Wayne Gretzky would just get in front, get a shot off as quick as he could.
Wayne Gretzky changed 2 rules.
What were those rules?
The 5-on-5 rule, because the Edmonton Oilers used to go out and sometimes just purposely take penalties so they could get into 4-on-4 situations because Gretzky with more open ice was 10 times more dangerous. And then the other rule that they did was the 2-line pass because they wanted a way to stop Gretzky. And
you could say all you want about guys having composite sticks. Butterfly goaltenders were definitely because Gretzky shot a lot low for early part of his career. So butterfly goaltenders took that away. Some of that training translated over. But Wayne Gretzky still would have had 1,800, 1,900 assists. I always forget what the actual number is that he ended up with.
1,963 assists.
1,963. When he broke Gordy, when he had the assist to get the most assists of all time to pass Gordie Howe in points, Phil, who scored the goal?
Marty McSorley, if I remember correctly.
Ulf Samuelsson. So,
no. You're talking. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about. You're talking.
Oh,
about
you mean?
the most assists of all
you're
time?
seeing. You were talking about the goal that he scored with LA to break the record.
To pass Gordie Howe. I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
Well, I can't remember if it was. I think it was McSorley.
I honestly, I stopped listening right away, and I thought you were talking about who scored the goal to. Actually, Gretzky scored the goal to pass Howe in points.
Yes, that's
and then it was McSorley that McSorley had the assist on him passing Howe in goal.
Yeah, because I know it was Curry and McSorley too.
Yeah.
But the other one when he had the assist to pass Howe for the career total.
Yeah, and you know what?
And
I see these comments here: worst goaltending, and goaltending in Gretzky's era was nowhere near athletic. Okay, then take away the couch pillow pads from these guys, and let's see what they can do without those.
And the clutching and grabbing,
and
the defensive systems of the Devils of the late '90s.
Let's see what they can do without being able to sit there and clutch and grab somebody and dump it. And that's why Marty Brodeur faced, 21, 22 shots per game?
I used to joke Marty Brodeur had a pillow on top of his net. And he would get shocked when he actually got a puck. Now, granted, he stopped them all. It takes a lot of focus to keep your mind in the game that much, but yeah,
you're right. It's not to take away anything from Gretzky or anything like that, Dave. But what you're doing is you're highlighting one side of the argument, not highlighting the other side of it. Because
right now, imagine giving Gretzky a composite stick.
Not only that, but give him all the other amenities, and then have those goaltenders from today go back and play with the equipment that they played with back in the 80s and see how they would do.
Yeah. I mean, were one-timers really that common in Gretzky's repertoire?
Yeah, they were still common. I mean, Patrick Waugh, I'm pretty sure broke his hand or his wrist in the 89 finals on a McGinnis slap shot and played with it. And it was his glove hand.
I mean, yes, Bobby Orr said it a couple years ago. I think it was the Bob Costas that he probably wouldn't be able to play in this era because things were also different. And now you take a lot of the players nowadays, they're trained to have, let's say, I'm just throwing a random number out there, 20, 40-second shifts. That's what they're trained to do. In Gretzky's era, and even going back to Bobby Orr, you're playing a minute or two per shift. And like Guy Lafleur was doing that when I think he had a long shift when he scored the famous goal against the Bruins. it's not the same game anymore. They're trying to get everybody out, go, go, go. And it's not the same thing.
I get it. Gretzky, and people say Gretzky wouldn't have the totals that he had now. But again, you're not giving Gretzky all of the amenities, the attention to detail. You put Gretzky with Barbara Williams or Barbara Underhill or some amazing skating coach like that. You think that Wayne Gretzky would still be nowhere near the fastest skater in the league? Wayne Gretzky, his skating, as good as it was, as even though he wasn't the greatest skater in the league, he was still a pretty damn good skater, and you couldn't hit him because he was so damn shifty. And then you give him somebody like that could improve his skating, forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it. I still think Wayne Gretzky would score 150-plus points a year. And I've said this, too. If Sergei Makarov would have came over in the 80s, Sergei Makarov would have scored 150 points in his peak years in the 80s. Because Sergei Makarov is one of the most naturally talented players the game has ever seen. And I'm not even talking like his NHL stuff. If you watched him in the 87 or 84 Canada Cups, he was unreal.
Yeah. And he was amazing. By the way, Wayne Gretzky, most points for an undrafted player. Who has the second most points for an undrafted player?
Adam Oates, I believe.
That is Peter Stastny. Damn it. I gotta check that one. Hey, Brody, bro.
I think, hey, Brody, I think Oates has more points than Stastny, but I'm not sure.
Now, by the way, that's just getting into Gretzky. We didn't even get into Mario Lemieux because the game would have been called differently, and he would have drawn a lot more penalties. His size and speed would have changed around. Lemieux would have had 900 goals. And then, of course, the other thing,
would he be healthy, though?
That's the other thing. Back problems, cancer. That's why whenever somebody says, oh, if that person was healthy, yeah, but you can't replace games that you lost. And the guy that told me, and now, by the way, also,
Oates has more points, 14-20.
Damn it. All right. I hate being wrong on trivia questions, especially when I try to get like stump filk. Chris, I like this one. I love Dino Ciccarelli. Dino Ciccarelli was he was a madman. He was like, he wasn't a big guy either.
No, he was. It's funny because they used to call him, Pat Verbeek, and Mark Recchi little wrecking balls of hate.
Yeah,
because they used to
a little ball of hate,
absolutely destroying people for guys their size.
But after Patrick Waugh, goalie equipment changed. Patrick Waugh used to toy around with his goalie equipment. I remember where they showed one when he was with the Colorado Avalanche. They had flaps on the side of his pants that would come down, and it would just be something else that could possibly slow down a puck if it was ever going to squirt by him.
You had those cheat shoulder pads that J.S. Jaguar, Garth Snow, and others used, where you would go down and the flap would come up and it would protect the top shelf, and then they banned those right after the 04-05 lockout ended. So I mean, these goalies, if you see these goalies without their pads, they look like half the size. And Hasek is absolutely the greatest goaltender of all time. There's no argument to it. I don't want to hear anything about Martin Brodeur after what Hasek did. Hasek won 6 Vezina trophies. And you know how many Norris votes the defenders got in front of him in those years? 4 total votes.
Ooh, 4. Who were they?
Alex Zhitnik got 3 votes in 1998.
Okay.
3 votes. He didn't finish in 3rd place. He got 3 votes.
And Richard Smellick
got 1 in 99.
Oh, wow. And got another bot. Got to get that out of there. Ridiculous. And I got to be careful with that because I don't want to accidentally get anybody. So Chris threw this one up there. We'll say on the goaltenders. And I do agree. Dominik Hasek's the best goalie of all time because he did it in any system. Would Tretiak be a top 2 goalie if he played his entire career in the NHL.
Probably because he would have been. He was drafted by Montreal, and he would. He actually no, he was drafted in Montreal in his later years, I believe. Hold on, I'd have to. I think it was the last round of the '83 draft, if I remember correctly, which he was drafted in. But I think he was drafted in. Was it a 30 at that point? I'd have to.
That's you look at the physical tools and the training that he had with the Red Army. He could have been legendary in the NHL.
Here, all right. So if you don't follow her already on Twitter, her name is Jillian Kemmerer, and it's Jillian with a G. The last name is spelled Kemmerer. She does a lot of KHL. She's a great Russian hockey follow. She posts a lot of Russian hockey history. She's awesome. She responds. She follows back. She's great. I love her. She posted a picture a while back of a lot of like the Soviets' vaunted line in the 70s. It was in black and white, and it was Kharlamov, Mikhailov, and I forget who it was, but there were like a few other guys from that team in the picture. And it's in black and white. They're outside. They're training. It's in short. They're in shorts.
That would be Mironov, right?
What's up?
That wouldn't be Mironov on that line, right?
No.
Or,
no.
Sorry, not Mironov.
That's in the 70s, dude.
Oh, my God. I said the wrong name. Unfortunately, I can't help but think of the Kurt Douglas. Jesus, I just did that. Kurt Russell line from Miracle Whatever off.
No, yeah. But it was... Well, yeah, Yakushev probably was the guy you were thinking of, as Lou pointed out. But they were it was Valery Kharlamov. Have you ever seen Marty St. Louis quads, his legs?
I'm going to say no just to keep this going. I think I have, though.
They look nuclear. Valery Kharlamov's in like circa 1975, whenever this picture was taken, they were bigger than Marty St. Louis were. They were huge. I couldn't even believe what I was looking at. That was how far ahead the Soviets were in their training, their attention to physical fitness, and all their regiments back then. Because they were on another level, and that's why these guys couldn't skate with them at the Olympics. Even when they played the exhibition games against the NHL, the Soviets wiped the floor with the All-Stars, the Rangers, all those teams, because they were that further ahead. Kharlamov would have killed it in the NHL if he played there in the 70s.
Now, just to say this also, if you haven't read the book, The Boys of Winter, fantastic book, covers everyone. It's now about a 15-year-old book, so just be aware of that. It covers everybody, all sides of the U.S. versus Russia game. And the minister of sport, who was in charge of the hockey team, told, I'm trying to remember who he told once, but this was the quote: "Conditioning isn't to let you know that it isn't for the end of the game. Conditioning isn't for the end of the game. It is to break your spirit in the beginning of the game to let you know we're not going anywhere. It's going to be the same thing at the end of the game." And that's how good the Soviets were conditioned. They were conditioned that their first shift and their last shift were going to be exactly the same thing you were going to get all the time.
Well, that's why Herb Brooks had to do the 10,000 suicides.
Oh, yeah.
Because he knew that that's what it was going to take to skate with them for 60 minutes.
That and also tying the Norway national team.
Yeah, you don't tie Norway, especially if you have gold medal aspirations. You don't tie Norway. But Joe Graves is right. I watched the documentary. I believe it's the Russian 5 one where they're interviewing all 5 of them. It's Mikhailov, or no, I'm sorry, Larionov, Krutov. Thank you, Richard, by the way. We appreciate that. And I would say that Yeah, they need to respond more to their goalies getting ran. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And Patrick Nemeth is usually the guy that tries to kill our own goaltenders. So
Well, Patrick Nemeth, what are you doing shoving him towards the goalie?
yeah,
You're an opposing player. You say thank you.
Patrick Nemeth needs to go. He needs to get the hell off of this team. Sorry, but yeah. I mean, getting back to what I was talking about before with the Russians, their training wasn't just training. They lived in a facility, and they could make one phone call a day to their families. And you had Igor Larionov and Slava Fetisov talking about this, and it was just it was terrible. They would like you. It was like practically like lockdown. And you wonder why these guys defected from these countries. Slava Fetisov went from a national hero to a national villain. You know, it was bad, and these guys talk about it, and Krutov talks about it too, and you could just see the dejection in their faces when they're going and reliving these memories, and it's like, wow. Like, and Mean Girl brought up Alexander McGillney before. Have you ever heard the comment that McGillney made when Mike Keenan was yelling at him in Vancouver? Or Mike Keenan was yelling at him in Vancouver.
Yeah.
He said,
I survived. I
survived defecting out of Russia. You do not scare me.
Yeah. I survived 18. I think he had 18 hours he spent in the trunk of a car.
Ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, part of it was money.
You're right, David. Part of it was money, but they wanted to get out of the country because the country was a hellhole at the time.
And part of the things that started happening around that area was Gorbachev and the transition of their country to be a little bit more open. But they still, their pride of their team was their hockey team. They screwed over Slava Fetisov so many times in that documentary, as you can see. Because a couple different times he thought he was going to be a New Jersey Devil. And I don't think he made it here until like 91 or something like that.
Yeah, it was Fetisov, I think, came in the very late 80s or very early 90s. So
yeah, it was past his prime, but he still was able to do some things.
I like this question right here. Putting their primes aside, what teams were more stacked? The 01-02 Red Wings and the 91-92 Penguins. It was funny enough because they're 10 years apart, those teams.
Yeah.
Definitely the 01-02 Red Wings. They're probably the greatest NHL team ever assembled, and they could probably rival just about any team that could ever be put together because you still had production from Brett Hull and Luc Robitaille, 30-goal guys. Brendan Shanahan, still in his, I guess you could say, his prime. Steve Yzerman was almost a point per game playing on one knee because he messed up his knee that year. And played through it because he wanted to play in the Olympics. Nicholas Lidstrom is a top 3 defenseman of all time. The Pittsburgh Penguins had maybe a top 30 defenseman of all time in Larry Murphy. And then the rest
Paul Coffey was on those teams.
What's that?
Paul Coffey was on those teams.
Not the 91-92 winner.
Oh, yeah, he got traded off that one.
You
know what? I got that because that was going to be my answer of saying maybe the 90-91 team was better.
The 92-93 team was probably more stacked. Paul Coffey was not on that 91-92 team, Chris. He was traded at the deadline.
Yeah, that's right.
LA.
What everybody forgets is Coffey was traded and Recchi was traded in 91-92.
Recchi was traded for Rick Tocchet.
Yeah, I mean that's
if you're talking about finished products, then it's the Red Wings. I'd have to say it was Red Wings. So,
you know what's funny about the 90? You bringing up though the 91-92 Penguins. Do you know the longest? Just give me the number. Don't tell me the team yet. What's the longest winning streak in playoff history? It's been done by 3 teams.
Longest winning streak ever in playoff history?
Yeah.
I would say 8 straight games.
11 straight. And it was done first by the Chicago Blackhawks in 91-92. They won. I think they won the last 3 games of their series against, I think it was Detroit they opened up against, or St. Louis in 91-92. But anyway, they ended up sweeping the next 2 rounds and going to the Stanley Cup Finals. What ended their winning streak was the Pittsburgh Penguins, who won the last 3 games against the Rangers, swept the Boston Bruins, then swept the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then, for good measure, the Canadians tied it the next year.
Yeah, David, like I said, he got traded at the deadline. He doesn't count on that team because it's not the finished roster. He didn't win the cup with them.
It's true,
So
if Mark was better,
trivia, girls would like him more.
I do get the
God, yeah.
It is the advantage of being on the bar, a bartender, and I was always a trivia enthusiast anyway. So, but yeah, he was traded at the deadline. And Isles were not one of them, but the Isles actually fought hard in the playoffs.
Chris T, where would you rank? Would we rank the John LeClair and Eric Desjardins from Mark Recchi trade a top 10 worst in NHL history? No.
I wouldn't even blink and it wouldn't be there.
No.
Because Recchi was still good for the Canadians.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was really good for them to end that 95 season. He was really good for them to in 96 and in 97. It was after Pierre Turgeon left that his numbers started going down a little bit in Montreal. But I would say, if anything, you're looking at that. It's a bad trade for them just because LeClair ended up being the last player before Alexander Ovechkin to have back-to-back 50-goal years in 96, 7, and 8. But and John LeClair was a real good scorer for a long time for Philly.
And when you think about the prototypical power forwards of the 90s, you think probably Cam Neely,
Eric Lindros,
John LeClair, Brendan Shanahan,
LeClair, Keith
Kachuk.
Adam Graves, I would say.
Now, Chris, on the other hand, this trade, let's go down the rabbit hole with this trade.
Oh, man.
Because the initial trade will make us all say, hey, that was a terrible trade. Why did they do that? Okay, so let's get that one out of the way. Sundin for Wendell Clark, not a good trade.
Oh. Yeah,
not a good trade.
That's a bad one.
However,
that might be a top 10 for me.
Yeah. However, yeah, by the way, David, unfortunately, there are so many bots that are going in there, and I'm hoping I don't accidentally delete somebody that's watching us. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Sundin for Wendell Clark. Phil, do you remember who Wendell Clark became for the Quebec Nordiques / Colorado Avalanche?
It was
a 3-team trade.
He was trade. He ended up being Yui Krupp.
No, better. One of the players was Steve Thomas going to the New Jersey Devils.
Oh, that's right.
Because of that trade, they got Claude Lemieux from the New Jersey Devils.
And Claude Lemieux, yeah,
it's not that bad of a trade.
No, not for the Nordiques. No, it
right.
ended up working out. It worked for Toronto too. The Islanders got the shaft on that one.
And then Clark went to the Islanders. He was actually pretty good for the Islanders, if I recall correctly. But the Islanders
numbers were all that bad, but I don't think they were all that good either.
No, but again, it wasn't. I think it was more like he was good for the team that he was on. Like the Islanders were in a full rebuild. That was the year. The first year of the Fishermen. They were introducing prospects. Yes, prospects. Zygmunt Palffy.
24 goals and 43 points in 58 games. That's not bad.
Todd Bertuzzi, Wade Redden as a New York Islander.
Team scoring, and he only played 58 games to them. What they really lost out on is when they had to deal Matthew Schneider to Toronto, because Matthew Schneider had 47 points in only 65 games for the Islanders. He probably would have scored about 60 points for them that year.
Matthew Schneider was a real good Islander and a real good Ranger when he was with us.
Yeah,
so
and then
with them.
The expansion draft to Columbus. Yikes.
Sorry, I had my fandom on my sleeve for a minute.
Yikes.
That meeting a buddy of mine soon enough in about an hour. But the Matt Sundin trade isn't that bad when you take it and bring it out further.
But it's just
yeah. Well, the Nordiques gave up Matt Sundin, but they also won 2 Stanley Cups. Look at it that way.
I mean, in the end, it worked out because Claude Lemieux helped them win a Stanley Cup in 1996. But I mean, if you're looking at the core of it, you ended up giving up Matt Sundin and you got Claude Lemieux out of it. Lemieux was there for 6, 7, 8, 9, and then in 2000 he went back to Jersey. So he was there for 4 years and helped them win a Stanley Cup, and was probably a big part of the biggest playoff series they ever played against Detroit in '96. So,
right on, John. That was it. It was Claude. I mean, and Claude Lemieux, arguably one of the best playoff performers. Like, he's on the short list of guys you would say showed up for the playoffs. Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Conn Smythe 95.
Yeah, 14 goals, which led the NHL in goal scoring. He wasn't even a point per game player and won the Conn Smythe. So,
yeah. 2 Hall of Famers.
That's the thing, David, though. Just remember, they had Sakic, Sundin, and Lindros all in their organization at one point. And a move was going to have to be made. And then not only that, but even when they made the Lindros trade, they had Peter Forsberg. They had Sakic, Sundin, and Forsberg. That center depth is unreal. That might be the greatest center depth ever. Ever.
Okay, Lou. And again, let me go to this one.
Oh, God, yeah.
Bernie Nichols for Tony Giordano and Tomas Sandstrom. That trade finishes okay for the 90 season, for the 89-90 season. 90-91, I went the other way for some reason. Yeah. Not that great of a deal. But Bernie Nichols was the centerpiece of the Mark Messier trade.
Yeah.
So it doesn't end up being that bad. And that's one great thing about Steve Dangle's trade trees are so awesome.
Yeah, and the reason why the price for Nichols was so high was because of that 70-goal, 150-point season in '89 when Gretzky first got there. You got to remember, Bernie Nichols is one of the very rare few to score 70 goals and 150 points. So,
yeah,
I mean, he basically made a career off that year because a lot of his years afterwards weren't great. Yeah, Cam Neely from Vancouver to Boston is regarded as one of the worst trades ever, mean girl.
I don't even know who they traded for him.
And that's how bad that trade is for Vancouver. Vancouver kicks themselves every time they hear the name Cam Neely.
You know what? Actually, that's a great question. And I think we're going to have to do a video on this at some point. Best players not to win a Stanley Cup. Because you get a guy like Matt Sundin that hasn't won it. Jerome McGinley hasn't won it. Henrik Lundqvist never won it. And I still think Henrik Lundqvist didn't win it because he played in the era of Crosby and Ovechkin in his division. So
Henrik Lundqvist is probably a top 3 to 5 player to never. And that would, that's another bad trade, Chris T. Marcus Naslin for Alex Stoyanov.
Oh my god!
I wonder if anybody even knows who the hell that is.
If I recall correctly, wasn't he like a tough guy?
No, he
Oh.
was supposed to be a skilled player that just never panned out. Never panned out.
We can go back to the Islanders again with the hold on. That trade to Vancouver Trevor Linden.
The Pierre Turgeon and Vladimir Malikov for Matthew Schneider and
Kurt Muller.
Kirk Muller, who did not want to play for the Islanders trade.
And let it be known right away. Mike Gardner, of course. Mike Gardner wore 22 in juniors because of Mike Gardner. And yeah, he was a hell of a player.
Yeah,
never won a cup.
Is definitely up there to the top. Easily a top 10 player to never win the cup. I mean, that's definitely a list I would want to put together.
People that know me would know that this is the worst. That's one of the worst Ranger trades of all time.
Peterson. Oh man, that's the name. Oof.
Oh yeah,
Barry Peterson.
Like when you're known for being that bad of a guy, he might not be that bad of a guy.
Michael Lotta for Philip Forsberg, which got George McPhee fired. Yeah, that's a bad one. Keith Kachuk.
I have it on one of my first videos I ever published before we even started this format, even when it was just Zoom calls and editing, was the best player, the best New York athlete not to win a championship. And for my money, it's Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah, I would have to say Henrik Lundqvist.
I mean, I think it comes down to him and Ewing.
Merry Christmas, Johnny Red, by the way. I saw that. I just wanted to
yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and, I was so busy.
Yeah, that's another good one. So Roger Bear, I would definitely say.
Roger Bear. I mean, we could make it with just American hockey players too, because Kachuk never won one. Roenick never won one.
Nope. Philip Forsberg, that trade's a really, really bad trade. That's probably one of the worst in modern memory.
Chris,
Rick
I'll
Middleton
post
for Ken Hodge.
I'll post the video on the community tab, so that way you guys could all check it out. But it was the guys that I had on the list. I had 2 hockey guys, 3 baseball guys, 2 football guys, and Patrick Ewing for basketball.
Patrick Ewing's got to be near the top. He was such a great player. Just if they knew how to build a damn team around him, and if John Starks would have just given Ewing the ball in Game 6, they would have won the damn championship.
Yeah, but I think the play was to try to make him. And Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla. All right, but you know what? Wait, David, I'm gonna give you a defense of the Bobby Bonilla deferment payments. Hold on, but I think I'd have on there on that video.
Don't even try to defend that. That's stupid. All you had to do was pay $5 million out to him, and you would have been free. That would have been it.
Oh, no, and again,
I get it. You got David Wright out of it. I know. But that's just.
Yeah, I do. By the way, on that video, I do have the Charles Smith play. I think I have that on there, and that's still. You know what? The funny thing is, me, Phil, and a lot of us, I guarantee us, we can almost talk about the 90s Knicks and 90s basketball till no end. Will you ever talk about these guys in the same breath of those 90s guys? Of course not. The better sport was back in the 90s, and the better players were back in the 90s.
Yeah. It's a different game. It's just not as enjoyable. I mean, I still watch the Knicks here and there. I just and it wasn't the 2001 Knicks, Dave. It was the 1999 Knicks. That was
that was their shortened season.
Yeah, it was the Latrell Sprewell trade and Allen Houston and Patrick Ewing on his last legs, not being able to handle Robinson and Duncan. It just
And as a Ranger fan, you couldn't help but be mad because you're watching Mark Messier in Vancouver, and Patrick Ewing was a shade of what he used to be already. And the difference was, I think Messier was making $6 million and Ewing was making like 22.
It wasn't 99-2000, David. It was 1998 or 99. The 99-2000 champions were the Lakers.
Yeah, that was their first at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna do about we'll do about 3 more minutes. We'll take it to 7:12. I'm gonna have to get this up.
We're at 7:12.
What?
We're at 7:12.
Oh, sorry, 7:15. I meant to say. All right.
Yeah. So we'll go to 7:15.
No wonder why we're all confused.
I'm supposed to be going to a friend's house. So, but
yeah,
94 would have been amazing if the Knicks would have won. That just would have. That would have been
so part of Bernard King's problems, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that. Bernard King was a hell of a player.
He was Carmelo Anthony before Carmelo Anthony, I'll say.
You're right. Yeah, I would say that because he was a big scorer. I don't like, and for his time, he was.
I like this. That's good.
I don't think he had the career that Carmelo Anthony had, but at his peak, he was definitely in the same type of stature that Carmelo Anthony was. Big time scorer. Gerard is one of the best scorers in the league. So yeah, I could see that comparison. Take care, Jason.
Yeah. By the way, and David, you're right about that. The Rangers would have been, and the Rangers and the Knicks, would have been the only teams to win 2 championships for the same building in the same year. I think that still hasn't happened, if I recall correctly.
No, I don't think it has.
No. So I guess this is actually a good question. Oh, nice. Rich, I'll answer that as well because I'm going to answer it with this. So what are your Christmas plans?
Just going to family close by. That's really it.
Yeah, I am, to answer Rich's question as well, I'll be working Friday night 7 to 4 and Saturday night 7 to 4. It might be a madhouse.
Saturday night?
Yep. We're open Christmas night.
Wow.
Actually, I think it might be 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, 8 to 4.
That's so weird. I don't get why you guys are open on Christmas.
Christmas, we get mobbed.
What?
It is. Yep. Yeah. I'll tell you this. Christmas is like St. Patrick's Day Part 2 sometimes.
Wow.
Or most of the time.
That's ridiculous. I can't believe that many people go to bars on Christmas.
I think it's because everybody spends Christmas Eve with their family, Christmas Day with their family, and then they're just tired of people. Like, I love you all. Get the hell out of my face.
I guess I can understand that.
But I mean, me and my brother Joe, we used to always go see a movie on Christmas.
Well, you can only take so much of family before you need to start drinking.
And that is totally true. So, Rich, I am going to be there every single night till 4 o'clock, except Christmas night, which is 8 to 4 instead of 7 to 4. So there you go. Yeah, just like the MTA, we never sleep. By the way, Boss Croakers, we're coming up on our 1 day a year we close early. That's New Year's Eve. We close early. We come down. Rich, yeah, I hope you come on down. Hope I get to see you, and hope that. And again, if I only got your thumbnail to recognize you with, so even if you said to be Rich Rotten, I go, I know who you are now. Like Mike came down, Mike NYR Forever. He came down. That was great. Because the funny part is then I go, all right, I already know who you are. So
there you go.
Yeah. But I would love to go see family. Most of my family is in Arizona and Florida, and my cousins. We didn't get together for Thanksgiving, but I mean, I'd be hanging out with my roommates if it wouldn't be the case, or housemates, I should say. And they're all great people. You probably heard them a couple different times today. And yeah, it's It'd be nice to see some family occasionally. I would love to see my aunt because she's the best, but she's also just just underwent cancer treatments, so don't want to introduce possibly anything near her. So, but Brody, those are good plans. Yeah, there we go, Mike. Yeah, whenever you can. You know what? That actually is a fun thing is that I've had people coming up to me during dart matches to go, I didn't know you had a podcast. And then, or I didn't know that you had, that you worked at a Croker's until it was draft night, Phil, when I walked out and called in.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was the first one. But, oh, by the way, we are, I was hoping to announce it today, but we might announce it later on this week about making it concrete about doing the bar meetup January 6th at Boss Croker's in Wantagh. That'll be a 9:00 game. That's the day of the Rangers going back to Vegas. Gerard Gallant, his first game back there. We'd love to have you guys come down. I just want to make it official before I get you in there. And you know what? Thanks, Rich. Actually, I thought I had one, but there was a soap opera that I could tell you about with that.
Yeah.
All right.
But,
So
yeah, I gotta start getting going now. I'm sorry.
yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Have a great Christmas holiday and just have a great holiday. It is fantastic. Like I said, hey, 2 hours, 50 minutes. We go overboard because we love doing this. So can't wait to do this again. See you next week. We'll be talking about hopefully at least one game being played and possibly some more. Hopefully without a third period collapse. But all right. Take care and a Merry Christmas to all.
I like it. Have a 99. Take care, everybody. Let's go, Rangers.